They go live just randomly, and
I can't chat this week, so if people say anything funny, you have to tell me. You have to tell me about it if they say funny things and like let me know, because I don't have my PC this week. I'm literally on the phone. Are we live, by the way? I got to make sure so I'm not using.
No, go ahead and drop whatever N bombs you wanted to drop. Jack, we are live. Gosh dang it!
Oh shit!
All right, do over. Start from the beginning. V, why would you say that? See, I had it on V's screen, so people
damn it!
Think it was V.
I was set up for failure.
I totally set you up. So V, what aside from all the N bombs you just dropped, what happened this week? Can you talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, well, since we're starting off like that, I don't know if we can recover from that. Well, today actually, I had an interesting situation today. My dad and I we took my computer in, and so we stopped at this place to eat, right? But he was like, "Let's go to Rubio's," and he keeps telling me about Rubio's, and I'm like, "All right, I never been there, but whatever." And already I'm not like a fan of going into places, especially right now, because everybody's all disgruntled and they all use COVID as an excuse for being lazy, right? And so we go in, and well, first, before we go in, my dad goes, "Oh, the door's locked, they're closed." And I go, "What? That's impossible. It says they're open on the thing." And so he calls the place, and he goes, "You guys open?" And they go, "Yeah, we're open." And like, he goes, "Well, your door's not open, it's locked." And so this lady, she like hobbles out, or waddle rather, she like waddles out, and she pushes the door, and it is unlocked. She goes, "It is unlocked," and she gets all like mad. She looks at us all mean, like we made her like leave wherever she was at, right? She's got this mean face behind her mask. Anyways, we order the food, and like, I'm doing this this intermittent fasting thing
every week. I love how you do this every week. You're like no better than the vegan guys who are like, "I'm a vegan and I do CrossFit. By the way, did you know Jesus isn't real?" Like you have to introduce it into the conversation.
And I have to and the reason why is because like it's so important to me right now. Where like if I'm like lose weight, like I want everybody to know that I'm gonna lose like a ton of weight and get all like beefy. I even have like in my saved shirts on Redbubble this shirt that says Beefcake Factory instead of Cheesecake Factory. So anyways, so I'm drinking a ton of water. Like I drink like 67 ounces of water a day, which is essentially a ton of water. So I'm constantly peeing. And so I asked the lady at the counter, this lady, she's wearing a mask, and I go, "You guys have a bathroom, right?" And she goes, "No, you can't use it." And I was like, "Why not?" And she goes, "Well, it's broken." And she goes, all we have is the women's bathroom." I go, "Oh, well, can I use that one?" And she goes, "No, you can't use that one." And I go, "Well, why not?" And she goes, "Because the door doesn't lock, and if a woman comes in there, blah, 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 blah." And I go, "Well, what if my dad just stands watch, and if anybody comes, he can go, 'Well, there's a guy in there right now.'" And even then, I go, "Isn't it okay for men to use women's bathroom now? Like, didn't Obama make that okay?"
I was
right?
gonna say, whoa, did she just misgender you?
Yeah. And then she goes, "No, I just can't allow you to do it." So I'm like kind of like seething, right? Like, and on top of that, I'm like brimming to the top with like pee, like I've got to go pee. So I'm like, "Oh, this stupid bitch." And then my dad, he's like, "Mister, like, calm down. Like, we'll get the food to go and we'll leave," right? And I'm like, "Okay." So I'm like sitting there, arms folded, all like frustrated. And I noticed that this lady's hair is like everybody else's hair is tied up and restrained, or they're wearing hats, and she's the only one walking around with this ponytail flying about. And so I'm sitting there going, that's like one thing already that I can like get back at her. Like I can stand up in front of her and go, "You're out of this." And then I go, "But before I do that, let me check the internet and make sure that that's a thing," right? Like that it's okay to like you never know. Like I could go, "Oh, your hair needs to be restrained," but she has it in a ponytail, and that might be okay. Which, thinking about it now, like your hair is flying around, like hair could go anywhere. So I look it up, and of course it's not. It's like huge health code violation. Like if you have long hair, it needs to be like put up in a bun or restrained in like a hairnet or with a hat over it, right? So if you're working with food, and she's going around working with food and like talking to all the other people, and so finally I go, "Okay, this is it." So I wait till they hand us our food so that like, that nothing bad happens to our food.
Right, yeah.
And the guy, he goes, "Oh, did you need help with something else?" And I go, "Yeah." I go, "Are you the manager?" And he goes, no, that's the manager. And he points to the lady that had
Oh.
helped me, took me on her time. And I go, oh, really? I go, hey, your hair needs to be up. I go, that's a huge health code. And I say it loud. So like everybody in the store that's like waiting and her like worker bees there go, like, can hear it. I go, your hair needs to be up. It needs to be in a bun. That's a huge health code violation. I could get the FDA out here and have you fired. And she goes, okay, I'll have it put up right now. I'm putting it up right now.
Now let me go take a piss.
She's like panicking because I just embarrassed her in front of all of her people, and then she like runs off to the back, and then my dad like shakes his head, and I go, yeah, see, I go, she should have let me go pee, man. She should have let me go pee. I wouldn't have had a problem with it. But you know what the worst part about it is when I got home to eat my food, there was a fucking hair in my food.
Oh no.
I wonder where that came from.
I go, can you believe this? I go, of all the daggone things. So in the end, I didn't get the last laugh. Like she probably was like, "Yeah, my hair's in there," but I don't know. It's still pretty funny that I was able to assert my, because I'm one of those people, and I know you're probably the same way. That if somebody makes you cower, like they go, "No, you can't," and blah 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 blah, and you go, "Well, yes, I can." And even if you can't, like there's no way around it. You have to like assert that. You just have to assert yourself somehow, and so. In that moment, you got to figure out a way to like prove that you're still better than them. And that's how, I'm all about superiority. So in that moment, I had to be like, look, I'm still better than you. I can tell you what to do. You can't tell me what to do. I'll tell you what to do.
You should have just peed in her hair.
Yeah. I told my dad, I said, if I was a lesser man, I would have just peed on the floor. I would have just peed on the floor. And he goes, I'm glad you didn't do that.
In the chat right now, we've got Kyle Napoleon is trying to get Let VP trending. So what I went ahead and did is on the Twitter page, I started the hashtag Let VP. So let's get that in the top 20.
Nice.
In the top 250,000 trending topics tonight. Let's get it into that bracket. All right, that's all I think we.
Well, that's it's funny that you mention all that because that kind of brings us into like kind of some of what we were talking about because I can't look at Twitter right now because I'm banned.
You can't even look at it.
I can't even. Well, I'm in the middle of appealing my ban, so I literally look at anything like it's not accessible for me.
Huh.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of a burn. Like you tagged me in something today, and I was like, "Well, I can't. I can't look at this."
It was a picture of your penis.
Oh.
So you can't even dispute it. So I'm glad I did it today and not like any other day.
Like a button in a fur coat. A mushroom with a forest around it.
Yeah. Speaking of, you reckon it was probably one of her her head hairs, or do you think it was a nipple hair, or was it a pubic hair? What kind of hair are we talking about here, V?
Chin hair. You know how people have moles and then they have hair coming out of it? It was probably one of those, the lengthwise, I'm guessing. It could have been a nose hair, too, which is pretty repulsive, let's be honest.
Maybe an ear hair. Which is grosser, an ear hair or a nose hair, do you think? Let's take it to the panel.
Ear hair. I'm going to say nose hair, to be honest. Because he got boogers on the hair.
Have you ever eaten a booger versus eaten an earwax? Like, which one tastes worse, V?
Well, I've never eaten earwax. Obviously, I've eaten a booger. I was a kid one time. We've all eaten boogers. Plus, if you've ever gone, you've tasted booger before. You know what I mean?
You know what's funny is they have that.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I'm just going to keep interrupting you like as you start talking. No, what those Harry Potter jelly bellies, the gross ones. There was one that was booger, and I'm like, man, it has been so long since I've eaten a booger. You know what I mean? Like, how do I know that that's what this tastes like? Like, if I eat it, am I going to be brought back to my childhood and be like, yeah, that's a booger, all right? So as I'm eating them. Like I wasn't allowed to look. Like it was like a game that we're playing, Bamboozled or something, and I wasn't allowed to look. And I picked it up and I was like, "Is it booger?" I don't like the other ones were so repulsive. Like you would know, like sweaty socks. Yeah, and what was the other one? Vomit. There was vomit in there, and I felt like I would recognize those, but the booger one tasted just musty. Let's take it to Jack. By the way, everybody, we have Jack from Paranormies on the show today, and he's joining us today to talk about to discuss our topics today. Jack, I did want to ask you what's grosser, a nose hair or an ear hair? Or, I'm sorry, a booger or earwax was the question.
That is a tough one because, you know, like probably most of everyone, I've never tasted earwax.
Yeah.
Really?
So I guess I haven't.
Come on.
I mean, I guess take the evil you know.
The booger.
I'll eat a booger. I don't care.
All right,
I'll do it.
have
I mean,
it.
I'm gonna do it like regularly. I'm not gonna eat a booger like in place of a meal. I'm gonna like, I'll forgo my brunch so that I'll have boogers instead.
Hey, what's the, you know, like when you go to a restaurant, what's the booger like? Is the booger fresh? Like, does it come from a local nose? Or, you know, have you ever done that joke where
with a booger on the side?
Yeah. Instead of like those garnishes or whatever, you've got the cook in the back pulling out a string of booger. Gross.
I would also like some earwax sauce on the side.
Melt up some earwax sauce for me and just drizzle it over my chicken.
Well, I told you I have like an obsessive, like I have this like it's pretty obsessive about cleaning my ears with like Q-tips. When I was in ninth, remember I told you this? When I was in ninth grade, I sat next as I was in the FFA, if you can believe that, the Future Farmers of America. In ninth grade. I don't know how I ended up in that, but I sat next to this dude, this like oversized like Mongo dude, and like I remember I was talking to him one day and he turned his head and he had so much earwax in his ear that you could see it coming out of his ear. It was just like chunks of it. And I remember that was the moment when I thought, that is disgusting. That is the sickest thing I've ever seen. And I knew from that day forward that I have to constantly, and I'm obsessive about it. Like every single day I get in there with the Q-tip. And I know you're not even supposed to do that, but I get in there, man. And there's never anything in there. It's never even dirty because I clean it obsessively.
Yeah.
Probably
so that was the day that you realized that earwax wasn't for you? Like you weren't into that?
Yeah, I'm pass on that. Pasadena. Big Pasadena.
Hey, while we're here, while we've got a moment, I do real quick want to get through this. Welcome to the chat, Stoneclaw, Jay Coop, Mike in Manitoba, of course, Buzz, Andrew, Nikki the Wire, K Martin M, Kyle Napoleon, and ubiquitous DAK Poster. We have to address the fact that we have a celebrity in our midst. We actually have old friend of the show, Matt Squatch, joining us in the chat.
You're
today.
kidding
me.
No,
he's there. He's slumming it.
Crap, I missed that dude. Good old
hello,
Matt Squatch.
Boys. Yeah,
hello,
he's been
boys.
there, and I needed to address the fact that he's in the chat and welcome him. You know, I love how he goes to the chat as if he can't just come on the show whenever he wants. He could, and he still talks to us or whatever. So it's not like he's so far removed from the program that he can't pop. You know, be like, hey man, I'm coming on the show, whatever. Oh, Andrew. Okay, you're Jurassic Weeb. Sometimes I forget who's who and who's attached to what. All you guys with your anonymous stuff or whatever, whereas like V and I just put our dicks right on like on the table. Like, hi, I'm Tom. Here's my dick.
Twitter name is literally V Weenus. Yeah.
So Jack, do you want to do like a real quick introduction of yourself before we get rocking and rolling? Because you know, I don't know how many people from our fandom participate in your guys' program. So if you want to introduce yourself with your anti-Semitic picture.
Yes. So I'm the one with the very anti-Semitic ghost. So you can find me so I'm the intern on the Paranormies, which you can find us at paranormies.com or on therightstuff.biz. Yeah, I really ain't got shit to say about myself, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
You got to here. I'm going to do a Yakov. All right, go ahead and show your stuff. Go ahead and sell your T-shirts or whatever, because everybody's got a T-shirt store.
You can find me on Twitter at JackTheIntern14.
There we go. All right, that'll do. So what? I know we're kind of like we're doing a weird episode today because we have, and I'll explain why we're doing this. Because we were going to continue with our Swingin' Dicks series, right? And we have one more episode of the Swingin' Dicks, our detective mystery themed eprobes. And unless everybody like comes together and is like, hey, keep doing these friggin' Swingin' Dicks episodes, then we'll probably keep doing it because frankly, like you guys dictate what we talk about. But I didn't prepare the promo in time. I failed. So coincidentally, totally unrelated, we were all banned from Twitter. We were all suspended in kind of like a stagger motion.
Yeah.
Where one of us, like I was banned yesterday from like 11 in the morning until 11 at night. And Jack was also banned, and then V was banned like right after I came off suspension. So they kind of like staggered us. And we weren't, we knew exactly why we got banned. V's disputing it, whereas the rest of us are like, yeah, we deserved it. What happened is we all started talking about the at&t girls' enormous rack, right? And it became like, in itself, it became a meme, and people started running around talking about, oh, mommy's Milkies and milk trucks and milk tanks, and like in her videos that she does on Instagram, her live videos, and then also in like the at&t sponsored ads that pop up on Twitter. People started posting stuff about mommy's Milkies, and this girl, her name, and I'll pronounce her name wrong because I can't even pronounce it at all because I don't have it pulled up right now, but she plays this character named Lily on the at&t commercials, and I'm sure you've seen her. Very like classy looking, kind of like nerdy librarian type looking girl, but she's got massive cans, right? So she's discovered this following that has developed regarding her tits, and she apparently is like reporting everybody for it. So if you saw like a silence amongst your favorite paranormal, as Matt Squatch would call it, the paranormal dark web, if you noticed a silence, a hush across the entire paranormal dark web over the last day and a half, 2 days, it's because this girl got us suspended. And Jack was actually responsible for me getting suspended because he had posted a hilarious poem about her giant tits. And I replied to it saying something along the lines of, I don't think we can talk about Lily's massive melons or whatever for a whole episode. Then we got suspended, and we decided in that suspension that that's exactly what we were going to talk about today. So we are going to do an episode on Lily from at&t's massive cans. And V, do you want to talk about what got you talk about real quick your why you're disputing your charge, if you would?
Well, first of all, I had no idea what any of this was all about. I'm not on Twitter that often, and it's basically because when I get on Twitter, I always get angry because I'll start scrolling and I'll be like, these fucking liberals, and I start shaking my head and I go, they're out there and they're insane, and then I see the riot stuff going on, and then fucking Biden, and I'm going, oh man, this is Jesus Christ, shaking my head. So I kind of like turn it off, and like when I do check on there, I like scroll through and I see like Mike in Manitoba or like Jay Coop post something, and I'm like, those are my guys. I'll like what they posted, or like you'll send me a message or something and I'll see something and then that's it, and then I like close it out. But the other day I got this message and you were telling me, you linked me to it, and I was like, what the hell is this? Like some girl's boo. I don't even know who Lily the AT. I don't know that because I'm like what's the word? I'm not hip. I'm not hip to all this. Yeah, I'm not with it, dude. I don't know what's going on in like mainstream media or television or anything. I had no idea. And so you sent me the video and I was like, oh yeah, she's got big boobs. Okay, so what's the big deal? But then it turns out that there's all this stuff going on where people are quote unquote harassing her about it, which I don't see how that's harassment, because if people are saying that you have big boobs, I think that's a compliment. And that to me, like, it proves that like being offended and like harassment is kind of, well, in this case, it's very subjective. Because in my opinion, if somebody, like, let's say, for example, people were going, oh man, look at that dude's dick, he's got a big dick, I'd be incredibly flattered. I'd be so flattered that I'd be like posting it on the internet. Everybody thinks I have a big dick. The world is talking about my dick. And this bitch is upset because people are enjoying the size of her tits. She should be proud of that. So I digress. I'm getting off here. So I get banned for no reason because I see the post you tag me in about like, hey, we should do a show about the girl's boobs and blah blah blah. And I'm going,
and that's the one that got me.
Yeah, and I go, okay, well, yeah, boobs are awesome. Of course, I can talk about boobs. And then this morning or yesterday morning, was it yesterday or today? I get this thing. I go on Twitter to like see who had posted what, and it's all, you've been banned. And I was like, what the hell? For what? What did I even do? And so, like, of course, it's about that tweet. And actually, I can pull up the tweet right now, what I said, so we can reference it. Let's see here. It says, it'll be a blast to see how many various terms we can come up with for breasts. Personally, I'm a huge fan of gazoombas, right? And that's all I said. Now, my argument is that is not directed at anybody. That shouldn't be offensive to anybody. That's not directed to her as a person. That's me talking about what we can do as a show and my appreciation for one term that is referring to breasts in general. So my argument is there shouldn't be anybody that's offended by this because it's not directed at a person. So the fact that I'm being banned because it's harassment doesn't make sense to me. And again, like, I have to appeal on top of that because I'm a huge fan of the First Amendment, dude. And, like, the moment that somebody says I can't say something, I go, well, fuck you. I can say whatever I want. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to say that shit and, you know, you can blow me. How about that?
Right.
How about that? Blow me.
Right. Did you want to see a picture of her? We can put it up. If anybody doesn't know who this girl is, right? Let me go ahead and put a photo of her up. V, can you see that?
Let's see here. My Skype went down. Hang on. Oh, yeah. Of course. I should have guessed.
Milana Alexandrova Vaintrub. Big titty AT&T day.
Is she's a Habib?
I guess.
She's
Ukrainian,
is that a Habib?
as I understand it.
Oh, Ukrainian. I've been to the Ukraine. I've been to Kiev. Remember I banged that singer out there.
Was it anything
weekend.
like that movie, War Incorporated, when, what's his name? John Cusack bangs Hillary Duff? Remember
Was that Hillary? I thought it was Lindsay Lohan, but yeah, it is like that. It is definitely like that. It's still communist. I mean, it's not communist anymore, but it still is. You know what I mean? Like, you go places and it's like communism to the max. Like a McDonald's, like, check this out. A McDonald's in the Ukraine is literally set up like a cafeteria. Like, you go down with your tray and then you pick out the burgers that you want and you put them on your tray and then you go to the counter and pay. It's not like you go up to a counter and order your food. You're like picking out your food, like fucking communism, dude. Like, come on, fucking guy.
Get it together, guys, over there. Yeah. Buzz Busby says that she's Uzbekistanian. So, so yeah, you were right. That's a Habib. So,
yeah.
But yeah,
isn't that where Borat is from?
He's from Kazakhstan, as it's pronounced.
Which is like not real, right? Is that real?
It's a real country. Yeah. This is an actual picture of her. People at home, for if you don't know, this is not her old picture from the 80s.
Wow, I had most
of those. Regardless of where she's from, I'd still bury my snatch bone in her backyard.
Oh man, I would reverse cowgirl titty fucker. You know what I mean? Like, I would plant my ass cheeks on her face cheeks and reverse cowgirl titty fucker.
Oh yeah, I get what you're saying. So she's got to put her nose in your beehole, basically.
Yeah.
I got you.
And whatever she does with her mouth is up to her. Like, I'm going to leave that option on the table. She can decide what she wants to do with it. But, yeah.
I wonder if somebody motorboat. Is she a lesbian, or is she married, or somebody somebody is getting to motorboat those.
Oh, you know what? She does have a fiance, a dude. So there's a dude motorboating it.
He's probably upset about that too. He's probably going, "Those are my titties."
How dare you?
You probably.
I got something to say about the video that she made. I don't know if you guys saw it. I'm sure you saw it, Tom.
No,
so
I did not.
Where she's like, "Oh, the milk tank memes and whatnot are hurtful." You could tell straight up she enjoys the shit out of all the attention she's getting, and she probably made that for her fiance just to be like, "Look, see, I don't enjoy it. I swear."
No, that's a good point.
She's definitely smiling in that video when she's like, all these memes, they're extremely hurtful, but she's smirking when she does it. So it's impossible to take her ass seriously.
Yeah, ridiculous.
And her tone of voice, too.
How could a person not like when everybody in the world, like, your boobs are trending? Could you imagine if your dick was trending, dude? That's huge. Like people, the entire internet is talking about my dick right now. That's fucking awesome. That's
Nice
I would
cock,
die a
bro.
happy man. I would die a happy man. You know what I mean?
Hey Tom, that was actually one of the posts that got taken down. Was when I was like, "Yeah, compliment my dick, bitch," or some shit like that.
And I did compliment it. I believe. I think I said something along. I said something, and then somebody else said, "Nice cock, bro," and it was along the same lines.
I'm pretty sure it was Buzz saying "nice balls, bro."
Yeah. It was. I knew it was. One of the guys, one of the fellas, got in there and said it was Buzz. I do remember. He's like the only one who still has like the frog Avi right now, so he's very easy to identify in the shenanigans. But let me talk real quick about this girl. Right, she's a very pretty girl. Like there's no denying that. But the discussion regarding this. These boobs, these milk tanks. You know what? The first meme that the first thing that I saw about it, I didn't even realize it was a thing until I saw there's this chick on here, spicy_fetus is her name on Twitter, and I'm gonna plug her right now. She doesn't watch the show, but she's pretty funny. It's at spicy_fetus, I think, and she had she quote retweeted the conversation where it showed homegirl, the at&t dame with the sloppy cans. She was complaining about everybody who was talking about her boobs in that Instagram video, and somebody was like, Lily can see your guys' messages and they're really offensive and they're hurting her feelings. And this chick, the spicy fetus, she goes, good, I want her to know that, or I'm glad she knows that I want her to crush my skull with her massive tits. And like, I saw that and I was like, that's pretty funny. I laughed and I was like, that's pretty funny. And then all of a sudden out of nowhere, like these milk cans, milk tank, milk truck, milkman, mommy's Milkies, like all that stuff started popping up everywhere. And I had to get in on it because I was like, this is actually really funny. this whole thing. But she's now like, if you type in Lily at&t, like the first thing that comes up is all this stuff about the sexual harassment online, which like I think it was Tyler the Creator said it, like, how can you possibly be cyberbullied? Just turn the computer off. Or just look away from the screen.
Look away.
Yeah. So that's when I hear sexual harassment online, I'm like, you guys understand you can mute people and block people and put your phone down for a minute and like whatever. Like there are a million things that you can do to get away from that toxic environment. And if this chick thinks that, I mean, you could even go and you can mute certain words. So you could mute the words milk, milkies, milkers, milk. Like, how often do you use those really? Or like, unless you follow like Got Milk campaign or whatever, there's no chance that that's going to pop up and be an issue. Or you miss something like, oh, there's a new Got Milk commercial. Oh, it's because I have milk blocked as a word. But she's on here. She says, it says, she's an actress who's best known as Lily from at&t commercials and is facing a wave of sexual harassment online after social media users rediscovered her videos for the company. Rediscovered as if she's not still actively in commercials for at&t. Over the last week, Twitter users have posted objectifying memes of the actress, many of which have distorted her personal photos. at&t eventually turned off the comments on an Instagram post featuring Van Troob as commenters flooded the video with crude comments about the actress's appearance. In an Instagram live, a visibly upset Van Troob said that the harassment brought up feelings of sexual assault. Visit Insider's homepage for more stories. But so that's basically the gist of it. And like in reality, I've seen these commercials 100 times, right? And I've never oh, hold on, I'm getting a message here.
You know,
I just dropped some in the chat.
Makes sense that the AT&T girl in the commercials pushing JG is, oh, come on, she's Jewish. So we're already
every single time.
We got the anti-Semite on the show who's got to bring in the Jew stuff. If not Yakov, it's got to be Jack. Come on, we were able to survive being canceled once because of a what did we do? You had me at canceled, our anti-Semitic episode. We're able to survive not being canceled once. Let's try to keep from. And I wish I still had my Adolf Hitler screen.
Oh yeah, that one.
You can't cancel us. We're just complimenting the Khazar milkers.
Yeah, that's true. So all right, we'll take it as that. It's a compliment, right?
You know what the best thing about it is though, like she can get all mad and she can like claim that she's being sexually harassed, and like she can get upset and she can get me banned from the internet or whatever. But the fact of the matter remains that I will not stop thinking that she has great tits, regardless of everything that she can do to stop me from saying it or being in her vicinity of saying it. She can do that all she wants, but I will always think that she has great tits regardless. And she can never take that away. She can never change that. Nobody can, in fact.
Yeah,
in fact, nobody can take away the fact of me saying right now that I appreciate her boobs. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, she can't mute. I mean, she can personally mute it, but she can't get our show taken down. We've been taken off of every platform already, and we'll just come back. That's what we do. We are the undying, unkillable, paranormal. What are we even? Like sort of pseudo paranormal show,
are we?
Horror comedy.
Assholes right now.
To the AT&T girls' massive Jewish cans. Is that a good one?
Is she Jewish? I thought Uzbekistan isn't. I
mean, there's Jews there. There's Jews everywhere.
I don't know. They're everywhere.
They got scattered to the four winds because they kept screwing up.
Real tit posting hours. Who up?
So where was? Oh, you know what? And I've seen these commercials 100 times. Right? They come on all the freaking time, and I've never once looked at her boobs. Not once. I don't know why. So it never dawned on me when people started talking about her boobs. I was like, "What on earth? Where is this coming from? Like, is this your definition of big?" And then I started paying attention, and I was like, "Those things are pretty big. They mask them well in that AT&T what do you call them? Polo." So, yeah. What do you rate those boobs, V? Let me throw it back on the screen.
Yeah,
here
let's
for
get a good.
There you go. See how they're kind of like masked in the.
Those are definitely pushed up right there. She's got them pushed up. I don't think they're as great as everybody says they are. They're certainly not. They're not like F. They're not size F or anything. They're probably just D's. I mean, I don't know.
I'll find some pictures.
I'll say this about her in that picture right there. She's wearing that to show off her boobs.
Yeah,
that's
no doubt.
That's what women do. They don't buy clothing like that to hide their boobs. They buy clothing like that because they're quote unquote bringing the girls out. That's what they call it, literally. Yeah. So she's showing off her boobs there, which means she knows she's got big boobs. How can she not appreciate the fact that everybody appreciates the fact that she has big boobs? Yeah, those are definitely a D. I don't think they're double D. They're good. I mean, they're porn star worthy. I'll give her that. I'd put my wiener in between those,
Would
mountains.
you reverse cowgirl titty fucker?
I'm not a fan of having anybody near my beehole, to be honest.
Really? All right.
I'm not. We've talked about that before. Don't touch that. Don't touch that area.
You've told me personally not to touch that.
Yeah, I don't. Touch my butt. Now, you know what's funny is I knew this guy one time. He was like, he had no shame about anything, and this one time he was like walking by me and he accidentally brushed his hand against my ass, and I looked at him like dude, like gay, right? And he goes, my bad. Like he says it loud, my bad, dog. I didn't mean to touch your ass. And I go, dude, you don't have to like fucking say it out loud. Just like acknowledge that it happened and walk away. You know, like we just don't address it. You know, it's one of those weird things that we'll never talk about. But now you did, and now we are. You know what I mean? And he just goes, well, my bad. You shouldn't have touched my ass.
You know, we used to do this thing. I may have talked about this on the show before. Actually, every time I move, the camera shakes, so I want to eliminate that from happening. I used to have this little fart box, right? It was a little remote-controlled fart device, right? And it was just a little speaker, about yo big, and then you had like a little keychain fob that you could push the button and it would make a short fart noise or a long fart noise, right? And we used to have this competition. Like when we got back from Iraq and we're in the reset phase where we're just waiting for all our shit to come back. And so there's really nothing to do. And we were just sitting in the hangar all day. And if you remember when we got back, the hangars were different. Like it was like the battalion was just like one long hangar. And then it had individual hangar or individual areas off to the side or whatever. Or I'm sorry, this is like the buildings, right? The offices. And we used to have this game where we would put the fart box in one of our cargo pockets, and then somebody else controlled the fob. So you would have to walk down all the way to the end of the battalion headquarters building, or like company's building or whatever. You'd have to walk all the way down to the door, and then you could turn it off, and then the person with the key fob could hit it at any time, and you would never know like when it was coming. So and the idea was to wait until they got to, like, you know, the first sergeant of one of the companies or whatever, or someone higher ranking than them would right. come out of one of the offices, and then you'd be standing, and they'd be like, "Hey, Miller, I got a question for you," and they'd pull you to the side, and then all of a sudden the dude would hit the button and go just like the long fart. But yeah, that was a fun game we used to play. Speaking
Farts
of
buttons
and accidentally touching it. What do you got for me, Jack?
Better picture.
Oh, yeah,
more definitely more justifying for those nice milk trucks, you know.
Yeah, she definitely is wearing that shirt to show off her boobs. I mean,
I keep accidentally.
I'd motorboat the fuck out of it.
Look, if she didn't want people to look at them, then she wouldn't wear shirts that get people to look at them. You know what I mean?
See, that's how you know she's lying in that video.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
So the controversy here, people are probably wondering, why are we talking about this on this episode or whatever, and how is this a conspiracy? Well, the conspiracy is this: the milk tank girl, the AT&T girl, she wants us to look at her boobs, right? And clearly, here we go. Here you go. Have a look at these puppies, and she's telling us otherwise. So what are we to glean from that, based on this whole Me Too movement? V, your thoughts?
Oh man, don't even get me started. That whole thing it's ridiculous, dude. And you know what? It's losing steam. All of that stuff is losing steam because it's all like, again, subjective, and that's how it works. It's whenever it's convenient, you know. And like, you know what I think too is a lot of it has to do with like unattractive people, and then like attractive people, right? You've got attractive people. It's not like race or anything. It's just attractive and unattractive people. So you have like an attractive woman, right? Like we'll use mommy mammaries here or whatever. what are we calling her?
Dusty Gazongas.
Yeah, I was gonna say Big Boobs McGee. Big boobs. So we've got this broad, right? And she's got these gigantic boobs. And then now imagine like Beefcake Chris Hemsworth, right? He shows up and he's like, "Oh, it's nice." And then she creams in her. She gets what the Australians call a white on, right? You know about the white on, right? And she's totally like melts because this dude's like a beefcake, and you know she wants him to stir her cereal. You know what I mean?
Sure.
She wants him to put his banana in her cereal, or you put bananas in your cereal. Right? Anyways, you get where I'm driving with this. So now you go back and you go, okay, now imagine it's some unattractive dude, like, you know, Danny DeVito, or, you know, whoever is not very attractive looking, kind of frumpy, weird. And then he goes up to her and says the same thing. Immediately she's repulsed by it, not by what he said, although that's what she perceives to be. It's more that he's an unattractive person telling her that. So she goes, "Oh, you're creepy." It's just like, you know, Jim Gaffigan has a bit that he talks about. He goes, what do you do? Like, you're on the train and you see like an attractive person and they smile at you and you go, "Oh, what a nice person. They're so thing." But then you see like an ugly person and smile at you and you go, "Ugh, what do they want?" what do they want, right? And so it's kind of like one of those things where it's subjective, and they're going, "Oh, how do I use this in my favor?" And you know, and this is my opinion, and you know, probably a little biased, but all women are like that. It's all like, how can they use their womanliness to get something, which I totally advocate. I totally advocate that, because that's where we're separate from women. Men can't do that. Like, unless you're, you know, like I said, Chris Hemsworth or Brad Pitt, and you can just like, you know, make women swoon, you know, then you can't do that. But pretty much all women, as long as you're not fat, can make men do that. They can just like string them along, and you know, and I'll be the first to admit, like, I'm a total sucker for the babes, dude. Like, if a chick shows up and I'm like, yeah, you know, I've seen her talk all my big game, like women this, and I'm a misogynist, and blah, 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 blah. But if a hot chick shows up and she starts ordering me around, I'm like, yeah. I remember I always used to say, like they'd give me that security test before I got my secret clearance, and they were like, if you are like worried about like secrets and government secrets and you can't sell and this, that, and I'd go, well, here's the thing. If you put like, if the honey pot happens to me, and it's like the honey pot, you know what the honey pot is. We've all seen Archer.
Not
the honey
honey
dick.
dick.
Yeah, we all seen Archer. We know what the honeypot is. If the honeypot happened to me and it was like Rachel Starr, like the porn star of my dreams, and like I'm selling every government secret right there just to have sex with her. I don't care who you are. And like that's how it is with women, is like if you're attractive, you can just make men do what you want. And like I think that's great. I think they should do that. Like that's how women can control society. But when you start rejecting that, you go, oh, I'm offended and blah, 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 blah. And they know that. They know that they're capable of, especially attractive. This Lily broad, you know, with her big boobs, she knows that. She knows that she could have a massive following if she just accepted that and let her boobs trend. She could have this huge people. She could get movie deals. She wouldn't be doing shitty AT&T crap right now because people would be knocking down her door going, wow, you're trending right now. You're important. Let me give you a movie deal. We'll teach you how to act. Who cares? She could have all that crap if she embraced it. All she's got to do is suck off Harvey Weinstein and she could be in a movie, just like every other broad that's in fucking movies. Like, how do you think they got there? Angelina Jolie, you think she's going to ever win an Academy Award? Probably not, because she's a shitty fucking actress. But hey, she'll be in a ton of movies and be in a ton of whatever because she sucked some dude's dick to get where she's at. And hey, you can complain about it and cry about it, but you did that shit. You didn't have to put his dick in your mouth. You could have right then and there said, fuck you, I'm calling the cops.
Acting
but you
is
didn't.
Not for me. Yeah,
you didn't. You fucking sucked his dick, dude, and that's all there is to it. And that's my rant. I mean, I could go on for days about this because it sickens me that women reject that instead of embracing it. And like, guys, we all like you can take most guys, I'm going to say a good 80% of men, that they refer, whether or not around other women, to women as some sort of derogatory mark, whether it be bitches, hoes. You don't have to be black to call a woman a bitch. We called the women bitches in this episode a couple times, and it's not because we're referring to them as female dogs or we think lowly of them. That's just a term like chicks or something at this point. Bitch is this and women that and broads and dames. In a way, it's almost endearing, you know? And like, you know how I feel about objectivity. Like, the more you objectify a woman, the more value that person has to you. You know what I mean? Like, and again, like, I'll rant forever about this, dude. You shouldn't have got me.
Okay with you. No, I'm totally, because you're like the guy who knows that industry and stuff. I'm a guy who just watches movies or whatever, but like, you live in it, so yeah. That's the kind of stuff that I want to know. Tell me this: who in Hollywood didn't have to blow somebody to get into acting? Like, name a couple.
Like an actress? Oh, that's a tough one.
Are there any actresses that are actually worth what they are now, based on their acting abilities, and got into the industry based off of the merits of their own talent? Yeah. Or is every actress a dick-sucking succubus?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the latter.
Yeah, it's not the latter. It's not because like I'm, you know, biased and a misogynist, but just because I can't honestly say that there's a ton of good acting women out there. Like, okay, here's an example. You know, I always talk about Halle Berry. She finally got her Academy Award. What did she get it for? For getting pounded.
What the hell? Billy Bob Thornton.
She got pounded in Monsters Ball. Literally the only scene that I watched. I don't even know what that movie is about, but when I heard that she was getting pounded in it, I fast-forwarded that. I rented the movie from Blockbuster Video. I fast-forwarded the scene just so that I could see her get pounded. Whacked off, and then was like, okay, that's good enough. Now I can die happy because I whacked off to Halle Berry. Although she did show her boobs in Swordfish. Remember that?
Yeah, she was suntanning.
But they all do that. It's like, I don't know. I can't sit here and tell you that there's these like amazing actresses out there that like have never had to do that, because I don't get like, I don't know. Like, yeah, I've seen a bunch of movies where I go, man, that dude is a good actor and he probably didn't have to suck a dick to get there. You know, what did I watch the other day that I was like, man, that's fucking acting right there. That is good ass acting. It was something good. Oh, that Lost City of Z with fucking Charlie Hunnam. That beefcake from fucking Sons of Anarchy. That dude. Gentleman.
Yeah, the Gentleman. The gentleman.
Yeah, gentleman. Yeah, and like I was going, man, this guy's a fucking good actor. That's great acting. You know, I was kind of like blown away. But and like from somebody who is like, you know, in the film industry and like has worked in film, like I look at actors and I go, man, this person, their delivery is good, or they're able to like embody that character. But with women, I can't. And again, this is probably my bias. And there's probably a lot of, well, with the amount of our female fans out there that are frowning right now, going, there's fucking good actresses out there. But I'll tell you what, maybe they are, maybe they got where they are, and like really like I don't know. Like think about the actresses that have won Academy Awards in the, like, who was it? Renee Zellweger got an Academy Award. What the fuck, dude? Renee
yeah,
Zellweger.
She's an awful person. She's a. Can you do an? I wonder if I can do an impression of her. Hold on, let me switch to that.
She's literally the same pose and face on every cover of her movie. If you watch every cover, if you look at every cover of her movie, it's literally her in the middle making a confused face with two guys on one side of her, both on one side. It's either Hugh Grant or some other British dude. She's just awful, though. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I mean, unless you can argue to me that there's a good like actress out there, and I'm open to it. Obviously, I'm open to hearing arguments of whether or not there's a good actress.
Sandra Bullock?
I like Sandra Bullock, but let's be honest, she probably sucked a dick to get in Speed or the net. She probably sucked a dick. You know, I love Sandra Bullock, and you know what? I was gonna it's now that you mentioned Sandra Bullock, I was even gonna say, well, Melissa McCarthy, but she doesn't get good roles. She doesn't get good roles, which means she's probably not sucking dick. And second of all, she's kind of fat, so she's probably not attractive enough to people to go, well, I'll let her suck my dick. They're probably going, well,
think like a guy, some producer somewhere is probably like, blowjob's a blowjob, and if it gets, you know, if I can get a BJ, I don't care if it's Melissa McCarthy or who, like, you know what I mean?
I have a theory.
Yeah, let's hear it, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what if they're like, you know, they're whether you're like a main role or whatever, it all depends on your ability to suck dick and how good you are.
That's interesting.
So lead actresses are the ones who give the best blowjobs.
Yeah, top tier.
A couple episodes ago, when you were talking about the guy that like the chick sent him a letter and was like, she said he's gonna suck his dick from the back. And he's never heard of that, and he wanted to find out what that was like. And maybe like the greatest actress, quote unquote, that is like, you know, Academy Award winner, actually really knows how to suck a dick from the back.
So who is?
Well, let's be real. Let's be real. Actress? All those awards are as real as like the WWE.
Yeah. Right. Well, I would reckon that the WWE is probably a little bit more real, but the
yeah, that's true.
Who is the best actress? Who is like an actress? Let's put everything, all our feelings aside about. I just hit my microphone. Let's put all our feelings aside about women in general and how they're pretty much worthless. And who is the actress that you actually think is a pretty good actress? Like, who would you say is the best? So it's kind of like digging through a big pile of shit and finding like the best turd, right? That's what I want. Who is the best turd in
I'll
that
give you like a
pile?
top three. I'll give you a top three of the actresses that I really like. I'm not going to say they're the best, but actresses that I really like and I'd watch them in anything. One is Scarlett Johansson. I fucking love ScarJo, dude. She's gorgeous, and like I don't care that she's not a great actress. She's okay, but I would literally watch her in anything, dude. I would watch a movie about her eating an apple. She's fucking gorgeous, literally. And that's why we go to movies, is to watch attractive people on screen. It's the whole point of a movie, is to have an attractive person on screen, so it keeps your eyes on the screen. You're going to constantly, remember we talked about the butt paradox, the peach butt paradox, where you see the girl with yoga pants and you can't stop staring at her butt because your eyes are drawn to it. That's the whole point of an attractive person on screen. So you've got ScarJo, right? I'd literally watch her in anything. I don't care what it is. Like when I saw Ghost in the Shell, and it was not that good, but it had ScarJo in a skin tight suit. I was like, yeah, this is good. I like this movie. I'll buy it. So that's my number one, ScarJo. Number two is what is her name? What's the lady that played Hela on Thor Ragnarok? What's her name?
Oh, Ava Green? Is that her? Or Ava something? Ava Braun? No, that's a different lady, right?
That's the lady that married Hitler.
She was a nice lady, though.
I want to say it's Charlize Theron, but I don't think that's what it is. Now I have to...
That's you're talking Hela. Is that the chick? That's not Thor's sister, is it?
Yeah, Thor's sister. Thor.
Yeah, isn't that the chick from 302, 300 Part 2, or 300? The sequel to 300. Not 302.
Kate Blanchett. Kate Blanchett is who it is.
Can't be right.
Yes, Kate Blanchett. I like Kate Blanchett. I'd watch her in anything. She's a great, and the reason why I like her so much is because of her character Hela, because of how she played Hela. She played it perfectly. I loved it. In fact, which isn't like an Academy Award-winning role, obviously, but it's a great character that she played to the T. So I really appreciated that. And then my last actress, and this is my bias, is Katie Siegel, and it's because of. First of all, it's because of Married with Children, because I think what do the weebs call it, waifu? My waifu is Peggy Bundy, like for eternity. Like I love Peggy Bundy. I think she would be the perfect wife in general because she's like the best wife. Like watch Married with Children. If you haven't watched Married with Children, then watch it and you'll understand why Peggy Bundy is like the best wife ever. She is like the best wife ever.
It's top tier TV.
Yeah, definitely.
What about you, Jack? Who are your top choices for women in film?
Well, I'd love to give an answer to that, but Dogbot kind of ruined it all for me, so I'm just thoroughly convinced they're all trannies. So I'm just gonna say whoever is the most convincing.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
With that. Yeah.
Like as a generalization, whoever's most convincing, or you don't have like a specific person?
I am just like so lost now ever since we started going over the trans files that I don't know what to believe anymore.
I really like too. I forgot to mention as a what do you call it? An honorable mention. Rosario Dawson. I really like
with that.
She's hot. She's hot, and like she's not like an amazing actress, but she's hot. And like, and when it comes down to it, that's what it will take for me to watch a woman in a movie. Is she hot? Is she attractive? And I can go, I can kind of relate. I would bang this girl, or I would hang out with her, or whatever. I would try to bang her at the very least. That's my logic for. I mean, and you could say that's a disgusting, misogynistic thing to say, and you can be upset about it. But that's my logic. When I watch a movie, I go, this is the kind of chick that I would try to hit. Try to hit that, as they say. Right?
Can we just get the AT&T girl into a movie so I can just say her?
Yeah.
Well, we know we don't even. What's Dogbot's opinion on her? Did he say that she's a dude yet?
Well, I want to know.
So while it's safe, I'm going to go with her.
Okay.
I want to know what your top actresses are, Tom. You didn't get.
You see, I was purposely putting it off till the end. Saving the best for last. No, I just want to make sure that you guys all have a chance to speak before I talk, and then so I can create my list based off of what you guys say. So I would say Rosario Dawson as a no. Kate Blanchett is my number one. No, I would say Zoe Saldana is my favorite.
Zoe Saldana.
Yeah.
Is that the one that plays Gamora?
Mm-hmm. That would be her.
Oh yeah, I do like her. I liked her in Star Trek. She's hot, dude. That is man.
And then another one, yeah. I would say Keira Knightley. Keira Knightley is another one of my personal favorites.
What is she even in that I've seen?
Well, the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Oh, I don't watch those. I never watched any of them. I saw the first one and I was like, that's enough. Right. I was like, it was like that was playing Hunter S. Thompson in all those movies. That's all it was.
She was actually also in all the Star Wars movies. I know you got into those, the original trilogy. She was actually, I think it was just the Phantom Menace she played.
Oh, was she Padme? Oh, Natalie Portman, dude. Natalie Portman is a good actress.
And it's funny that reminded you because she plays Padme's double, right? Like
really?
She plays Queen Amidala as like yeah.
I was trying to be funny.
No, yeah, it's a real thing. She was actually Natalie Portman's double in the movie. So not like her actual double, like she portrayed Natalie Portman. She portrayed the same character that Natalie Portman did.
Yeah, I seen it. I'm sure everybody's seen it.
And then also Charlize Theron. I think that she's pretty good too.
Charlize Theron. She did that movie Monster where she gets banged by the.
Yeah. Oh.
That.
But that's a good example of her acting, and I mean, she normally goes for these like super hot roles where you're like, wow, what a beautiful woman portraying a very classy lady, and then all of a sudden the next one she's like, I'll suck your dick for a fucking beer, you know, like that was her character.
She was in that movie Atomic Blonde. Did you watch that? Atomic Blonde?
It yet. I haven't.
Yeah,
I haven't watched it
either. She looks hot in it. I don't know. I can't. And here's the thing, and I think we talked about this before. Is it's hard for me. Like, you know, we talk about the suspension of disbelief. Like, that's the whole concept behind movies. Is like you can sit in the movie and go, I believe this, right? And you kind of lose yourself, right? You get immersed, and so you don't stop all of a sudden and go, come on, that wouldn't happen. You know, people watch John McClane and Die Hard movies, and they go, come on, dude, really? He's jumping from a Harrier jet on top of a building?
I believe everything.
Yeah, no, I do too.
Documentary.
Yeah, John McClane. Yeah. Yeah, it was a documentary. So, but my problem right now with like chick heroine movies where they're like badass is the suspension of disbelief. I can't watch it and go, well, this is like that movie Anna. Remember the little skinny Russian chick is like beating up all these beefcake Russians, and I'm like, come on, dude, these guys, they could like slap her and she'd fucking explode. You know what I mean? Like
X to doubt.
Yeah, exactly. I wish I had him too. I need to use those I need to have like more examples of shit that I can pop up, like memes and stuff. In the chat, Mike in Manitoba said the Underworld chick is very doable, and I think he's referring to Kate Beckinsale, right?
Kate Beckinsale, yeah. I'd wax that ass too. Yeah,
but I don't know if she's a good actress. Is she? I've never seen her in anything other than
she was
whatever.
Catwoman, wasn't she? Does it matter?
Well, that's what I was going for. I was looking for women who are actually pretty decent actresses. That's granted.
Okay, I'm gonna say Natalie Portman. She's a decent actress, and if you don't agree with me, then there's a couple movies you need to watch. One of them is Garden State, which is directed and written by Zach Braff, which is surprisingly good. It's a surprisingly good movie if you haven't watched it. Kind of old school. It's a good one though. You'll get to watch it with your wife or your girlfriend, man. She'll love you for it. I took a chick on a date, like first night, like ever met this girl. Took her to see that movie in the theaters. Got to go home and have that old one-night stand. Totally worth it. Definitely watch that one. And then the other one is the Black Swan. If you haven't seen that,
where she bangs Meg from.
Yeah, she bangs Mila Kunis. Yeah, and then what was the other one that she's in? Oh, and then she was also in this movie called High Night with Danny McBride, which is actually really funny. It's really funny. It's not a great acting, but it's really funny. And if you look at those three movies, you'll see the versatility in her acting. So yeah, Natalie Portman she's like fucking went to Harvard, I want to say.
Yeah, she did. She dropped out of acting for a little bit so that she could go to Harvard.
Yeah, so she's legit. I have to retract my statement because she's actually one of the few actresses that I can say, yeah, she's pretty good at acting. I don't know. She sucked a dick.
I was gonna say she makes me want to turn my bloodline into a German railway line.
Oh, you know what? And Buzz Busby added too. He said, "Who was the blonde chick from Joe Dirt? She could get it," and he's referring to Jamie Presley, right?
Jamie Presley was in that. She was the sister. Remember? But the actual chick that was like Kid Rock was like, remember the one that Joe?
Okay.
Presley's great. She's great. She's hot. She would have made a good Harley Quinn, I think. That's who I would have cast at Harley. Sorry, Margot Robbie. Speaking of hot actresses, Margot Robbie. Let's not forget about her.
Yeah, she's pretty good too.
I think what Buzz is talking about, Brittany Daniel.
Maybe.
Is it pretty? I remember she had short hair. I don't know. I haven't seen Joe Dirt in a long time.
Don't try churching up Dirt.
What does he say? Yeah, I get it. You want to see homos naked?
Why don't you speak into the microphone? I got a backup mic right here. Go practice spitting out teeth. I'll be there in a minute. That movie. One of my favorite lines in that movie actually comes from Kid Rock when Kid Rock he pulls up in his old Camaro, right? I think it's what it was. He pulls up in it and kicks all the dirt all over Joe Dirt or all the gravel over him, and Joe Dirt's like blocking it with the Auto Trader. And then he gets out and he's like, "Oh, I didn't get any on you, did I, Dirt?" And he goes, "Nah, Robbie, I'm cool." And Kid Rock goes, "No, you're not." That's my favorite insult ever. Like it says, "Man, I'm cool." Nope, not true. So
That's classic.
Buzz doesn't know the name of the chick. So moving on, Jack, I know you wanted to talk, and we're at the hour mark. We're a little over an hour, so I know we had one other topic we wanted to talk about. We've ripped on women, I think, hard enough for this episode. We can move on to the other important thing that we needed to talk about today. And we were gonna have a couple things lined up that were paranormal related, but with our discussions on Air Zoons and what was the other one? You Had Me at Shall Not Be Infringed. Those types of episodes. There was something that happened last night that I know, Jack, you wanted to talk about. And while you kind of give a preface, I'm going to add some of the pictures to the show so that we can show them. But if you want to give kind of like, I don't know if you have it pulled up right now or like a news article about it. If you want to read and kind of tell the story for anybody who may not be aware of what happened last night in Kenosha.
Yes. So I don't have it pulled up right now. I'm blanking on his name, but long story short, he did nothing wrong. A 17-year-old boy, and he was there the media, obviously you can't believe anything they say because it goes from he was a Boogaloo boy defending BLM and all them, but like then they attacked him to, he was a white supremacist, and he shot 3 protesters, killed 2, and pretty much almost took off one guy's arm.
Yeah, that was a pretty awesome shot too.
Yeah, I mean it's like in Starship Troopers, if you disable his hand.
I was actually going to that was one of the memes I saw earlier today, and I was going to add it to this list here or of the things or whatever. Let me put a picture on them. But if you want to keep talking about them, what are some of the controversies surrounding it? Like, what are some of the theories that are going around?
So, for the theories, pretty much there's been video releases of before the shooting with him talking about how he was pretty much like cooperating with the police. Like the police, from the sounds of it, the police, they couldn't really do shit about the protests, just like everywhere else in the country. Well, if you want to call them protests, they were actually riots. But so he went in, did God's work, trying to defend a business. And what did the guy say exactly? But it was pretty much like, you fuck around and you find out. Yeah. And that dude found out.
I love that expression, fuck around, find out. And then whenever somebody gets shot or whatever, they say, well, did he fuck around? Yep. Did he find out? Sure did.
Yeah, and it's like these rioters attacked him with a fucking skateboard. Mind you, this guy has a loaded AR-15. Like that's either ballsy or retarded, but I'm leaning more towards the latter.
And let me pull up the picture of actually when. Can you see my screen there, Jack? I want to make sure that you can see it. What's going on there? This is where he was actually knocked down by the protesters who were chasing him, and he's kind of in a defensive position here at this point. Let me get that one on there too. But yeah, you can see him down on the left side of the screen here. You can see him down on the ground. One of the guys had shoved him and hit him with a skateboard, right? And at this point, he's trying to protect himself. And he's got this gun, and they know he's got a gun, right? Because he had shot another guy who slugged him in a different parking lot. And now he's running away. They chase him down, knock him over. And now he starts putting rounds down range on these guys. Takes out that guy, right, that's coming up on him. And then I believe, I don't know if you can see him in this picture, but another guy charges up on him and has got him still kind of down on the ground. And he pulls the trigger and ends up shooting the guy in the arm. And you can see it right here. Made quick work of his arm.
Is that a Wu-Tang shirt? He's wearing a Wu-Tang shirt? How dare he?
Yeah, it's probably some kind of knockoff that ends up saying like Black Lives or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like how they're doing all these cheap little knockoff shirts or whatever to.
Well, Wu-Tang is black.
I guess they ain't nothing to fuck with, just like that AR-15.
Yeah, and that kid, like I'm telling you, he put one in the guy's belly, on one guy's belly, right? And then he put another one in a guy's chest, and then he put another one in the guy's arm. So like everyone that he shot at, he landed around, right? So that's pretty impressive. And the thing about this kid, I don't know if you knew this, he's like 17 years old, right? And he's not even from Kenosha. Now the thing that needs to be known about Kenosha is it's right on the border of Wisconsin. It's south of Milwaukee, and Milwaukee is largely it's a black city, you know, it's predominantly black. And Kenosha, so all these little it's almost like a suburb of Milwaukee. And so this dude came across the border of Illinois and was messing around in Kenosha and shooting at, and part of this militia or whatever. And I'm not entirely sure all the stories about like what he was doing. Like, was he part of the militia who was protecting businesses? Was he one that was just out hunting Antifa and Black Lives Matter and all that? But
who cares?
Hold on, I'm pulling it up here. You beat me
Sorry, I thought you just like pulled that up randomly on accident.
No, I was pulling them all off of Discord so that I could share them here. This is this is the best part about modern situations like this, is the meme makers get right to work. And I mean, they made this immediately. And you can see he's even got the paramedic hat on. He's got the satanic band or mask or whatever, I guess. I thought it was a bandana when I saw it in the actual picture, but he's got like the satanic pentagram. He's got the gun in hand and everything. Like this dude knew what he was doing when he made this meme, and I applaud him. I don't know who it is. None of these memes, I didn't make any of these memes, so I can't take credit for it.
It's so funny, dude. It's perfect.
I got more for you. Stand by.
They make it out to be like, oh, he shot these unarmed protesters. Like, no, he shot a rioter with a pistol in his hand.
Yeah. So, like, who cares?
While they were attacking him.
Yeah. Like I told my wife, I said, don't go on the battlefield if you're not ready to get shot. And certainly don't show up when you've got a gun yourself and not expect to get shot. This is what happened when the president was made aware of the situation in Kenosha. I don't know if you can see that there.
He's monitoring it very closely.
He's looking at memes too, the same as we are.
Yes.
Let's see, I got more here.
Okay.
Oh yeah, turns out the whole thing was actually a big misunderstanding from, you know, that program Impractical Jokers, right?
Oh,
it
yeah.
was actually a prank from that show, and I've got it right here.
It was fucking Sal, I knew it.
Okay, now try to take his rifle. That's that's
he-
another thing. As soon as somebody goes to reach for your rifle, it's already too late at that point, as far as I'm concerned. They would have already been down. If it were me, like I'm in that situation or whatever. But the thing about it is, anybody in that situation should be at that point ready to take a life. Like, once you go for somebody's gun, then it's too late for you. Here's a skater boy when he got hit. V, I don't know if you can see that there. It's the new Tony Hawk game. And then nice. I got one more for you. This is the one that Jack mentioned already, but I'm going to go ahead and put it on for display here. From one of my favorite films, my favorite documentaries, Starship Troopers. Remember when they were in basic training? And this kid obviously took his training very seriously. If you the enemy cannot push a button if you disable his hand. Remember old Teethy Busey? He was like, but sir, why can't we just hit him with a nuke? He goes, put your hand on that wall. Friggin' Mr. Krabs. But yeah, that's the gist of what's going on there. Jack, what do you think of all that? Let's start with V.
Man, I you know my stance on the riots, dude. I think in fact, here's an interesting thing. My dad and I were ranting about. It's funny whenever like my dad says something to me, and then I'll go on a tirade like, well, you know what needs to happen is blah 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 blah, and then Tom says this, and I think I agree with Tom on that, and so blah 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 blah, and then I'll go on, and then my dad's like, whoa, take it down, and I take it down. But I mean, on the riot, in terms of the riots, it shocks me that it's still going on. And like the bottom line is it's still going on in democratic states. That's all there is to it. They're just letting it like, what did that dumb fucking mayor or the mayor in Seattle, the bitch, she was like, oh, it's just like a festival. Like, bitch, you had these people took over an area of your town, and finally you had to do something about it because there were fucking crime happening. There was crime happening, big time. People were getting murdered in there. And so, like it's funny, my dad was talking about it today, and he's like, it's crazy and blah, 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 blah. And I go, what? He goes, this is what he said. He goes, how is there not a Batman now? If there is ever a time that we need a Batman, it's right now. Like, this is, like, Batman needs to show, and, all in the wake of watching the new Batman trailer, his favorite scene is the same scene that you like, where Batman beats the crap out of that dude.
Oh, yeah.
Where he goes, what are you supposed to be? And then he beats the crap out of that. Yeah, and my dad, he goes, that was great, man. I love that scene. I go, yeah, it's going to be a good movie or whatever. But he's all, that's what needs to happen right now to these rioters. Like, that's what it is. And I'm inclined to agree with him because, it's crazy out there. And obviously, what's funny about that is I live in this, middle upper class area now, so I don't have to worry about any of that crap. Like, there's no fucking rioting going on over here. There's literally nobody will shake the boat over here because everybody loves it. In fact, I have cops regularly patrolling my area, and it's quiet as a fucking mouse over here. So I don't ever have to worry about that. And so I guess it kind of goes back to what we talked about when we originally talked about what was the You Had Me at Antifa episode, where we talked about at what point do we have to say the line in the sand has been crossed? And it's crazy because you go, well, is it already too late when they've gotten to your door or to your house? I mean, that means that something should have been done before. So at what point do you go, this shouldn't be happening? And I commend the dude, for first of all popping a cap in these fucking retards, because that's what they get. You know what I mean? You're out there writing. If you're first of all, if your intention is to do violence upon somebody else, then you should expect that at some point you're going to have, what's this old adage, right? The old adage, live by the sword, die by the fucking sword. Right. And I don't know that the F word is in there. But
well, you know what? Sun Tzu actually said that in that exact terminology. That's what he spoke in broken English. Live by the sword, die by the fucking sword.
Fucking sword. But it's funny because all that stuff. I shake my head and I go, these fucking assholes. It shocks me that it's still going on. Part of me is my theory. And I was telling my dad this today. I said, my theory is that it's all going to end in November, and it's not just because the election and all this crap. But here's what my theory is when Trump gets reelected in November, this is his last term, which means he won't get to do another term, which means he's going to be able to do really everything that he's wanted to do and he's been holding off to do without anybody saying anything. Because it's just what most presidents do on their second term. That's when they start pardoning people and start doing all these things that people can get pissed about, but they can't say shit about because he's the motherfucking president. And that means that you can say, oh, well, I'm not going to elect him next year. Well, good, because he's not going to be able to run.
He's not up for election, so
he's not up for election.
Totally believe you in that. Let me say this, V. I want to add to what you said just now. You were talking about how your dad was talking about that's what needed to happen. They needed to start pumping some caps and all that, and that's what they need is a Batman to come in and just beat the ever living shit out of them and turn him into ground beef, and that's what they needed. And the way I see it, and this is what I was talking to my wife about earlier today, because she knows I'm big into. I'm at that point where I'm am I, not in so many words, but am I supposed to be the Batman? Am I supposed to get involved? Am I supposed to go and put these people to the friggin' put their feet to the fire? And I start thinking about it, and I'm like, what if you see these videos, right, and you see the people and you see how quick these internet sleuths are to be you can see right there he fired the gun, but if you watch it and if you've ever fired a gun, that's not what happened or whatever. And I wonder how far away are we, first of all, from having somebody show up with a sniper rifle on a tower, you know what I mean? And not necessarily like a high powered like 308 or a 6.5 Creedmoor, or heaven forbid, I mean, it would be awesome with a 50 cal, but if they just show up with like, you know, just like a 22 long rifle, or, you know, something small but far enough away that they can get, and they're a good shot, and they see some protesters kind of getting a little crazy, and all of a sudden just pops one and hits them, and then just chaos, right? And then on top of that, you can just walk away because nobody's filming the distance, like where you're at in the window or on top of a building or whatever. Nobody's filming that. They're filming the people on the ground, right?
Technically, a 22 LR is like the deadliest round, and not to mention it just sounds like a BB gun. So like, you got the sound discipline, and plus, like, if that enters your body, it is going to bounce around everywhere, and there is no exit wound.
Yeah, same thing with the 223, right? Like the 5.56 rounds and shit like that. They enter you, and then they'll enter you here, and they'll come out your lower back or something. So like you end up with all sorts of crazy wounds, and if you hit somebody in the head, they're done for pretty much regardless of the round. So I mean, if you get somebody who's a crack shot on a long range rifle or whatever with a round that people aren't going to be suspicious of, like how is there a hole this friggin' big in the back of his head when dudes only had like, you know, 9 mils or whatever on the ground, or even the 5.56 friggin' ARs that they got running around down there. But that's my big thing when you said that's what needed to happen, right? Somebody brought this up not too long ago, or earlier today, as a matter of fact. They said, good, now that people know that they can die while they're rioting, that's going to discourage rioting, right? And so I think of it like, again, I'm going to mention 300, right? The whole goal that Leonidas achieved in bringing his 300 there was proving that a god king could bleed. And that's exactly what he did when he hurled that spear and was actually able to just slice. He didn't even do any real damage, just sliced his cheek open. And all of a sudden everyone was like, oh, wait a minute. You know, what's his friggin' name? The Persian king, I forget, or Xerxes. They're like, oh, Xerxes he's not a god, you know, he's just a man, you know. And so now that we've made the god king bleed, right, we've killed a couple of them, people are going to be like, wait a minute, like, I thought we were untouchable, I thought we were safe when we do this stuff. It's going to discourage it in a big way. And if it doesn't, hopefully it also emboldens some of the... Remember when I was talking about the shot heard around the world? I think we heard it just now with this kid, right? This 17-year-old kid who made us all look like a bunch of lazy, like assholes, right? He made us look like a bunch of layabouts, you know?
Just talking shit. And some 17-year-old kid, we're like these veterans, and we're all like, yeah, what point do we blah, 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 blah. And then some kid pops a cap and a couple of rioters' asses, and we're like, well, damn.
Zoomer gang, rise up.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about that is these Zoomer kids, man, they're like way more, like I thought with the generation gap, right? You know, you've got the boomers and they're just like all talk, right? And they're like, oh, well, you know, I did my part in fucking Vietnam, or, you know, like, and half of them didn't, and most of them didn't even go, you know, like the real Vietnam vets, those guys are the shit. But then you've got like the dudes who just kind of lived in that era, and then they want to talk shit about it, but then they don't want to do anything, right? So that's generally the attitude of the boomer generation. And then you've got, you know, Generation X, right? And they're just like, whatever, man, you know, they're like they're the fallout and the byproduct of the 60s, right? The love, you know, the love and free love and all that shit. And they're very like relaxed and chilled. And then you've got millennials, and there's a huge dichotomy between this type of millennial and that type of millennial. And you would think that the millennials would be the ones to step up. No. And as we're seeing now, it's the Generation Z kids, obviously, because this kid, 17 years old, travels across state lines and mows a couple of these these rioters down. So, I mean, like, these Generation Z kids, they've always been, like, from the internet, right? They're the ones who were calling everybody out, and they were talking all sorts of shit. They started the OK Boomer stuff. I mean, these are the kids who, like, they seem pretty on the ball, and I hate to say that about teenagers, you know?
I have to say that I'm glad that you have to correct yourself when referring to them as protesters, because at this point, they're not protesting anything. Like really, how long has it gone? Nothing has achieved by your protest. You're not doing anything. In fact, I saw something recently where this lady was talking about how rioting and looting is like part of reparations.
Yeah.
And I'm like, give me a fucking break, dude. Like, you're just trying to justify your stealing. That's all it is. Like, that's fucking retarded. And so when you have these people out there that are doing that kind of stuff, and they're going, oh, it's protest. And what's worse is like that cunt AOC, and pardon my French, but it's necessary in this case. When referring to AOC and Ilhan Omar, those cunts, like, dude, like those people, they're going peaceful protest. Like, what the, like, my ass. Those are not peaceful protests.
Are you watching
dude.
the same news that I am? Like,
yeah.
are you seeing the same live feeds?
Down a building, when you burn down a building and like endanger the lives of like people that like are in their business and like all that, like that's not peaceful at all. Peaceful is standing out in front of a place holding a picket sign, going, that's a peaceful protest. But like,
what's going to piss those guys off, protesters in general, is if you want to talk about the difference between peaceful protesting that is effective, and you can look back to the civil disobedience of, the civil rights era, right, with Martin Luther King Jr. And that was great. It achieved what it needed to do, and there was like precious little violence. It mostly came from radical extremist radical extremist groups, and but then you've got, like, look at it this way. If you cannot achieve your goals without pushing violence, or at least gain the notoriety you need to enact change through discourse, your cause is literally, it becomes terrorism, right? And good protesters, and I'll tell you what, not many people fit into this mold. The good protesters, I think of Westboro Baptist Church. Those guys...
That's
everybody
funny.
hates them, right? God hates fags, dead soldiers. Thank God for dead soldiers. Shit that would just make you furious when you saw it. But we swore an oath to uphold the Constitution, right? And so we were like, I hate those fucking guys. They say things that make me so mad all the time. But I respect the hell out of them for standing on this corner, right outside of base, on the eve of a funeral for a soldier. With signs that say "Thank God for dead soldiers" and "God hates fags" and "fag enablers" and stuff like that. Like, those guys, while I entirely disagree with their message, their tactics and how they achieved their notoriety was phenomenal. All they did was hold signs that had very controversial things on them, and they became nationally hated for their message, right? But it got them in front of people, and it got these messages, and it created this new attitude of like, are we the bad guys with this Iraq situation? Are we the bad guys in the Middle East? And it started that dialogue, and they never hurt anybody physically, right? They were very peaceful protesters. Now, these guys, their first act was not like, hey, let's go hold up signs or whatever. Their first act, the evening after George Floyd, right? The evening after this gentleman up in Sheboygan or whatever, who's also a child rapist, by the way, the evening after these things happened, they were out in the streets burning down buildings. Like, this is not how you that is not the definition of peaceful protesting. I don't care how hard you want to change.
That's not the definition of peaceful, period.
At all.
That's savagery. That's all it is savagery.
All right.
Should we give the dictionary definition of terrorism for the listeners?
Please do, Jack.
Yeah.
The unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians, in the pursuit of political aims.
So...
which is why Antifa is a terrorist group.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like all these riots for George Floyd. Like, have any of you seen the toxicology report on George Floyd?
They said he was, the first one said they were waiting, and then I think the second one said it was clear, and then another one said that he was on all sorts of shit. Tell me.
Hang on.
Please answer the question.
Incarcerated for a ton of drugs constantly. It wouldn't surprise me at all that he's got drugs in his system.
I'm gonna drop it in the chat.
No, just read it. Read it, Jack. Yeah. You're here on the show, and you're a guest. Please talk.
Well, so there was THC. Wow, shocker. Methamphetamine, fentanyl. What was the other one?
Isn't that bath salts?
No, that is like the fake heroin shit that's been killing people. So this dude did like a super upper and a super downer. Like, that's, and the amount of fentanyl in itself is like enough to make him OD. And
Yeah.
The thing about
if you saw the
fentanyl-
body cam footage, he was saying "I can't breathe" as he was like getting out of the car.
Yeah, and that's what was so funny to me was like you see the video, right? The original one where he's like the dude's got his knee on his neck and he's like, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe constantly. Mama, help me, mama, I can't breathe. But and you know it's bullshit because if you can talk, you can breathe. And I'm not like a doctor or whatever, but I know that for a fact. But anyways, you're like
you have to be an idiot not to know that.
Still, you're like, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. Okay, that's pretty terrible. For 8 minutes, he sat there with his knee on his neck, and the dude's like, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And you're like, okay, like, maybe the officer should have eased off. I get it. And, like, I get your frustration. But then you watch the whole video, which leaked. It wasn't even released. It was leaked by a journalist. And the whole video for like 45 minutes, I think it was, while the whole arrest is going on, the entire time he's yelling, I can't breathe. When they're putting handcuffs on him, when he's standing straight up, when he's sitting there in his car and they're trying to pull him out of the car, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. He's getting put into the squad car carefully, gently. I can't breathe, I can't breathe. He gets pulled out. I can't breathe, I can't breathe. The whole time. So that whole I can't breathe narrative is gone as far as I'm concerned. Him yelling, Mama, help me, when they're taking him out of his car and putting handcuffs on him, that Mama, help me stuff is gone too. And then now that Jack, like you read the toxicology report, he's had drugs in him. Like everything goes out the window. All the stuff that you may have been somewhat sympathetic to the guy for, like maybe the officer was a little heavy-handed. Like you kind of want to give the benefit of the doubt.
Never, not once.
None
I think that the cop should have just like. And again, I'm a huge advocate of like police brutality. I was stationed in Germany, man. Like the Polizei, you don't fuck with them because they will beat your fucking ass. And cops should be allowed to do that. Like if you're breaking the law, and we always talk about this. Like the problem with society is what do we say? There are too many laws that aren't being enforced, and there are too many people that are blasé blah about them. They go, oh, I'm not going to get arrested. I can do whatever the fuck I want. And then the law comes around, and they're all shocked that they're in trouble. Like, bitch.
See, the cops should have. I disagree with like everyone else. Like, yeah, the cop should have like not kneeled on his neck. You want to know why? Not for what everyone else thinks, but like if he didn't do that, it would have objectively been true, without like any reason beyond a doubt that this dude just overdosed.
Right. Yeah, it kind of hurt him, the fact that he did something which was allowed. It was in the textbook. You're allowed to do that. And that's the other funny thing, too, about this new shooting in Sheboygan, right? My only regret about this shooting in Sheboygan is that they didn't kill him with 7 shots. So when people are like, oh, police need more training. Yeah, they do. They need more range time. Because if you can't kill a guy at point blank range when you've got them pinned down in their car, like, you need to go to the range, buddy.
Well, a 17-year-old has a better KD than you.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing is, too, I saw a post, I won't say who it was, but it was somebody whose opinion I value greatly, so I didn't reply to it. They said that they posted a thing from TMZ, which is like obviously the most objective, most useful source for information in the news or whatever. But what they said was they were talking about how this dude, right, that in Sheboygan got shot 7 times. And then they're talking about this other dude, this kid, right? The 17-year-old who shot 3 people, killed 2 people or whatever, and wounded the other one pretty good. Like, he's going to be he's going to have to switch to left-handing or being left-handed from now on. Hopefully he can intubate with his left hand. Otherwise he's going to have to hang up his paramedic hat. But anyways, this dude shot 3 people, and when the cops showed up and this craziness was going on, he put his hands up, right? He just threw his hands up immediately, took his hands off his gun, and sat there on the ground, like kneeled on the ground, had his hands up, wasn't anywhere near his gun, and was complying without even being asked to comply, right? He just kneeled down and he put his hands up. And the cops breezed right by because they were like, oh, well, this isn't what we're looking for. You know, everyone here is complying. Everybody in the crowd is yelling because they're trying to yell, he's the shooter, get him, you know. But everybody's yelling over each other and they're kind of like so disorganized. But this dude, he's the only one who's like puts his hands up immediately. And they're like, and he gets off scot-free, you know, and he's able to leave the scene and all this and that, and the other cops don't even arrest him. And then you're like, well, they're like, how come this other guy got shot 7 times? And I'm like, well, I want you to read that again. Okay, because one guy kneeled and put his hands up immediately. without even being asked. He saw the police, respected the fact that they were going to tell him to do that, and he made himself so he was no longer a threat. The other guy fucking walks around the car, gets into his car, starts digging around in the who knows what, and this guy's already got a criminal record. The police were responding to a domestic situation.
While the guns were already drawn.
Yeah, and I mean, he's being told, he's already been tased too at this point, I believe, and it didn't work.
Yes.
And the dude just walks around his car totally ignoring two cops who have guns on him. So, why did he get shot and the other guy not get shot? Well, let me refer you back to Dylan Roof. Total scumbag, killed a bunch of people in a church while they were worshiping. Unacceptable by every possible, like, any argument that you may have. It was totally unacceptable. What happened when the police showed up? He put his hands up, kneeled down, and complied entirely with the police, right? So what happens when any of these other situations where perhaps the person is of a different color? They never listen. And that is why they get shot. And I can't stress that enough. Like, every time people say, how come Dylan White got, or I think his name is Dylan White. How come Dylan got off? How come the shooter at Sandy Hook, or not Sandy Hook, what the hell, Parkland? How come he got off? How come all these other guys got off? Because they complied. A police officer cannot shoot you without, once you've got your hands up and you no longer have your gun in hand, if you're not making any movements, they can't shoot you. Because all that stuff gets filmed, especially now that everybody's got a camera trained on you. If you shoot somebody who has their hand up,
what about that?
Done.
Remember that old, and I think it's been on the internet lately, is that Chris Rock video where he talks about how not to get, like, brutally beat up by cops. And really it's just a thing about, like, how you should comply with police.
Literally just act like a normal white person.
It's so well, it's not even that, it's just comply. Literally just comply. And, like, that's the funniest thing about it, is that was made in, like, the 90s, and it's so fucking relevant right now. It's so relevant right now because what do you think you're getting, like, brutalized? Like, that's the whole thing. They go, oh, George Floyd this and George Floyd that. Well, the dude was not complying with police. He's a fucking criminal, right? Which already, who gives a shit if he's alive or not? Really, who gives a shit? The guy is not, he's worthless to society. Criminals are not good for society. So why are you crying about a fucking criminal?
He pointed a gun at a pregnant woman's belly.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
Yeah, that's a line that, like, once somebody does that, there's no redemption for that person in my eyes. Like, I don't care. He never apologized to me. He never asked for forgiveness to anyone, as far as I'm concerned. I don't think that he actually, like, ever felt any remorse for that action. I can forgive somebody who asks for forgiveness. Not necessarily just to me, though I'd like it. I'd like it to be a generalized kind of, like, open blanket statement, like, hey, I know a lot of you guys hate me. I made a really stupid decision, and all I can ask is that you forgive me. And I hope that one day I can make this right in some way, shape, or form. If they make a genuine plea like that, I'm okay with forgiving. I can forgive that person. And I think we've talked about this before. If somebody did something really horrible to somebody in my family, I would be furious. And if it was too late where I couldn't get involved, like, in the heat of the moment, and they came to me later and apologized, I would have, and asked for my forgiveness, I would have no choice but to forgive them.
It's hard not to. We talked about this. It's hard not to. Remember we talked about, like, if you had a pedophile, like, apologize to you, like, you'd probably be angry and it'd be hard, but, like, if they came clean and was, like, sincere, it's hard not to, like, I mean, I'm the type of guy, anybody apologize. I mean, I've never had a pedophile apologize to me, and I've never had to deal with that. But, I mean, anybody that apologizes to me, I usually go, forget about it. It's almost like one of those things where it's like you don't want to deal with the sentiment. You're like, I get it. It was no big deal. Don't sweat it.
Like, we all make mistakes, And granted, your mistake is a little bit bigger than, like, oh, I smudged your shoe or whatever. But, like, I get it. And if you genuinely would, like, if it means that much to you that I forgive you, then yeah, of course I'm gonna forgive you, because fucking, we all make mistakes, and I get maybe, like, you were in a bad place at the time, but you never hear that from these people, right? You never hear, like, Yeah, you know, like this dude in Sheboygan who now has to roll around in a wheelchair because his ass couldn't listen. Like if he comes out of his coma or whatever. But
well,
like,
he's not going to diddle more children.
yeah, he's not going to fuck any more kids because he can't.
That's right.
You know, but like that sort of person, you never hear that. George Floyd, I never, like, he went to jail, and the problem with a lot of these people is pride. They let pride get in their way, and they're like,
that's right.
if I apologize, then they're kind of making me their bitch. No, like,
right.
it's okay to feel remorse for, I've done some horrible things in my life, and you bet your ass I've asked forgiveness and asked and apologized for a lot of the things that I've done. Just because, like, it's the right thing to do. And certainly I would hope in order for somebody to forgive me, I would assume I would have to genuinely be apologetic about it. But these people aren't. They're like, yeah, I put a gun to that girl's belly, like when she was 8 months pregnant or whatever, while I was robbing her house, dressed up as a cleaning company or whatever, you know, like, and that's what they do. It's like I think largely it has a lot to do with the image of being a gangster, right? You know, you hear about it in rap music, and it's cool and it's glorified in rap music, and so they're like, yeah, this is what the cool guys are doing or whatever. So if I apologize for doing something that's cool, then that makes me a fucking nerd, or like weak. It makes me a coward or whatever. So, and it's the same thing with police. Like, white people, we're like, hey, we're quick to be like, pride be damned, because I'll put my face in the dirt if I have to, if it means I can deal with this in court, right? But typically, and I'm not saying all the time, but typically in these instances of like black people and their engagements with police officers, they don't comply because, and it seems like it's out of pride. Like, they don't want their homies to see them giving up to the white man or whatever, to the cops.
It's a badge of honor for them to get arrested, honestly.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. You know, it's funny. You mentioned about you were talking about like the whole culture essentially, and like it's something that I was talking about today is that it's interesting that people complain about like racism right now, and like it's such a huge thing, like racism that and racism this, and like, you know, with all the, what do you call it, the climate, right? With the climate right now, that's like the big thing is racism, and is racism ever going to end? And this is that. And I think the problem with that is, and that again, this is my opinion, but I think that it's based in like some intellectual, like there's a little bit of smart, like I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm like a genius or anything, but like this is my logic behind it, is that there's the problem with racism is that people continue to perpetuate stereotypes. That's all there is to it. Racism's always going to exist as long as your culture continues to perpetuate the stereotypes, and not the good ones, mind you. Like, there are good stereotypes about people. You know, Asians are smart. They know they're good at math. That's a good stereotype. Some people might get offended by that. They might go, well, I'm not good at math, and that offends me. Well, then you're fucking dumb then. Like, you're dumb because...
Blacks are good at math too, because they managed to do like 13 and also do 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, good one. Good one.
Hold on, I got something for that. I put it together because Mike actually sent me the picture. He texted me while we were talking about it. He texted me the picture. He's like, "Sorry, I don't have the sound wave, but I was able to. I found it on my hard drive." So, yeah, no, I totally agree. And we got here in the chat, it actually says, Mike in Manitoba, speak of the devil, he said fatherless families have a lot to do with, or play a big role in today's society.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's something that we've talked about too before, is of the mass shooters with the highest body counts, the one thing that like 29 out of 30 of them had in common was they come from fatherless homes. And
on SSRIs.
What's that?
On SSRIs, like antidepressants.
That too. Yeah, that's another good example. And that's where you can kind of get into the conspiracy thing, where you're like, are the G-men coming around finding people who are on these different antidepressant medications, these psychological medications or whatever, and purposely utilizing them, and then they can write it off later. Like, all of a sudden people are like, oh, it's because he's on all these medications or whatever. And then you can kind of like spiral out into this other thing. That's a conversation for another day, really. But that is definitely a thing too. But yeah, fatherless homes, how that pertains to today, and as we're going to get closer to the election, I guess probably we'll end up talking a little bit more and more about, you know, everybody knows where we stand on the election. Very pro-Trump, V and I are. I'm not going to speak for Jack. Because I know a lot of people in our circle are not Trump supporters, and that's fine. But what I do want people to understand is that these fatherless homes were created and enforced by the Democrat Party candidate, Joe Biden, and then his running mate, Kamala Harris. They created and enforced the policies that led to the highest incarceration of black fathers and, you know, young black men ever, like in history. Like, it's worse than slave days, right? There are probably more currently incarcerated black men over some bullshit, frankly, because it's a lot of it is marijuana possession or marijuana paraphernalia and shit, and then even beyond that, like drug shit, because who cares about drugs really at this point? Like, if you're using it within your home, and that's usually what it is, or they get caught with some on them, like a little bit on them when they're out, like, who gives a shit about that? But you know, I'll tell a different story when it comes to like people shooting up heroin in a playground or something. That's a totally different animal.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, that's a different thing. But we're talking about like a sizable chunk of our prison population is black men who are in jail for stupid charges that really are no different than the Jim Crow shit, like jaywalking and all that, like modern day Jim Crow shit. And if we were to attribute that to anybody, we could easily attribute it to Joe Biden's crime bill in 1994, and at the same time when Kamala Harris was the attorney general in California, and then she went on to become obviously the attorney general and so on and so forth. And over that time, if we were to count up how many black people were incarcerated solely based on that bullshit that they introduced in legislation and then enforced through police activities, I would guarantee any black man would immediately drop them and vote for anyone else in the world because they would recognize it. But the problem is they refuse to look at the facts because orange man bad. And that's what it boils down to. And despite the fact that Donald Trump has done quite a bit actually for the black community, and but nobody wants to hear that. And it's so funny to me because I'll see people, like, I have a few black friends on Facebook who will sit there, and I won't even say, one of them's not even a friend. He was in one of my units when I was in Fort Hood, and like I added him because he was a funny guy, but like all he does is talk shit about politics and talk shit about Trump, and he's like, oh, praise Jesus, Joe Biden was selected he was nominated or whatever. Oh, Kamala Harris, amazing. And I'm like, so you just don't know anything about either one of those two assholes.
Yeah, obviously not. You don't know anything about it.
But it's just because it's not Donald Trump, and that's all they want, and that's all they look at. And even like Shaun White, right? Talcum X, the white guy who leads Black Lives Matter, he the white black guy who leads Black Lives Matter, he came out, like, this is like months ago, he's like, I will fucking walk away from the Democrat Party and I'll vote for, or I just won't vote if the choices end up being Joe Biden and his running mate ends up being Kamala Harris. Like, he called it, like, and this is like months ago, and he calls it, and then a few days ago or whatever, when Joe Biden was selected and when Kamala Harris was chosen to be his running mate, he says, oh, thank God, we're finally going to have some leadership in Washington with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So glad we have somebody who can beat Donald Trump and get this country back on track. Like, and he starts sucking their dicks, right? So, like, and somebody put his tweets right next to each other where he's like, I will not vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris if they end up being the choice. And then immediately, right next to it is, thank God Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are going to turn this fucking country around. Yeah. So,
it's about like what they're going to do. It's about like, oh, we need to remove Orange Man, which, you know, like, so I'm going to steal this take from Mike Enoch. Pretty much, so if Joe Biden wins, all these riots and everything will stop because all these useful idiots will no longer be needed, and he's going to quell that shit, and there's nothing they can do about it because no one's going to complain.
It's true. And even that, I mean, that's the thing. I think it's going to end because I think a lot of them are being funded by the people who are trying to get Joe Biden elected.
No, they are. There's no doubt about that.
And,
what is it? Act Blue, or what is the name of it? Blue? What is the thing?
Act Blue. Yeah.
Act Blue, yeah. It's all going to the Democrat Party. All of it. Literally all of it.
And then on top of that, then you've got
Candace Owens broke that, man. She pulled it out and showed everybody.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed that she wasn't selected to speak at the RNC. That seemed like a golden opportunity.
Oh, yeah, wasn't that good? Oh man, don't get me started about that. That was so good. My dad said that he was getting choked up watching. He's like, man, these people. He said the guy that did the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning was like this old veteran. He just like laughed at how proud he was. Like, he said it was like moving. He was like, man, that RNC. Like, these are like some heavy hitters. He kept saying, these people, man.
And like 5 years ago, nobody would have given a shit. No, I guarantee the RNC was not watched by anybody, really. I mean, it was probably like there were probably like a handful of people who were like, "This is important. This is an important thing that we need to watch." But like everybody else was like, "The what?" You know, like it probably wasn't even on like major networks. It was probably just like some shit that you had to watch on like your cable access or whatever. But and that's what's so funny about this whole political situation is like all of a sudden everybody overnight became political experts. And most of them, like, you can look at them and be like, you don't know your ass from a hole in the ground, do you? Like, I guarantee, like, if I asked you what
did that guy say? The wrestler, opinions are the lowest form of information.
Right. Opinions are the lowest form of information, and he couldn't be more correct with that statement, that sentiment. It was, you know, because all it is, you don't have to back it up. That's all it is. It's just your opinion, and it could be rooted in nothing, like just what you were raised on. And once you're asked to back it up, and you're like, "Well, it's just my opinion, man," so it's worthless. It means nothing, you know. But,
that's great.
Yeah, man, and that's dude. There are so many chicks that like were on Twitter or whatever back then who were like all of a sudden like experts on. And I don't trust chicks, like, or really anybody for that matter, on politics on Twitter. Period. Because like they all have some kind of hidden agenda, and whether this is left or right, I don't care. Like, I don't listen to really anybody on Twitter because we have a Twitter. We have a show on YouTube, you know, we have people who watch us. Like, what does it take to do that? Nothing. It takes very little effort. You just have to show up and try to be funny or whatever. And you can have people who will watch or listen or whatever. And that's all these people are. And then they sit there and they talk about some made up, like, their political opinion, like that Palmer Report guy. Like, that dude used to drive me crazy. I finally got blocked by him, which was like a huge badge of honor for me. But like, those are the sort of people that like people will actually go to, and that's their source of information. So I don't know, man. What do you got, Jack? You got anything? I know you wanted to say something racist or something.
Well, it's not... well, I mean, I always want to say something racist, but so do you want me to get it out of the way now?
Your advice to you know what? Let me go ahead and preface this. Jack has some advice for everybody in the chat, and this is something that is applicable to me as well, because I recognize the importance of what he's about to say, because it is something that I had to deal with mentally myself. And I'm not necessarily endorsing what he's about to say, nor do we at You Had Me at Bigfoot endorse what he's about to say, but I think it requires some thought and some consideration on everybody's part in who's watching the show right now. But go ahead, Jack, and say what you got to say.
I'm just trying to put some thoughts and ideas, you know, get the old noggin jogging. But if you'll look at good old boy Kyle Rittenhouse, you know, 17-year-old who shot those 3 protesters. Well, you know, killed 2, disarmed 1, if you catch my drift.
Yeah, good one.
So this guy was in no way a pronounced white nationalist or anything of the sort. If anything, he was a boogaloo boy, you know, like just some guy defending a storefront, whatever it may be. No one really knows right now because, you know, the media all lies. But what do you constantly see? And I've tagged Tom in a couple things just during the show. What do you constantly see? He is labeled as a white supremacist. So I would like to put it out as a PSA for all you boogaloo boys. No matter what you do, no matter what you say, regardless, every single time you will be labeled as a white supremacist. So come home, white man.
Well, I'm Mexican.
Hold on.
So,
All right. We got that there. So what he's saying, for those of you who are like, whoa, this is something that I struggled with, right? And the sort of people that we've had on the show and the discussions that we've had on the show.
Yeah.
And how many times have we been called Nazis, white nationalists, white
Yeah.
supremacists, white this, white that? Like, just call me? You don't have to call me a white asshole. Like, I know I'm white. Everybody knows I'm white. Anybody from a mile away can tell that I'm white.
Yeah.
Like, I shine like a beacon of Gandalf the White. Like, I'm that white.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to introduce race into this. Just understand that I'm an asshole. I don't have to be a white asshole.
Yeah.
I could be an asshole, period. Just
Right.
call it. Like, I can call anybody an asshole, and it doesn't have to.
Yeah.
I don't have to bring in the fact that they are whatever race or whatever color or whatever religion. I don't have to introduce all that stuff. But that's what happens. Is all of a sudden, oh, well, you're saying mean things about this particular person. You must be a white supremacist. Well, no. First of all, like, I would never consider myself that. I've considered myself many things over the years, and I think racism is on a spectrum, not necessarily a binary, you're racist, you're not racist. I think it's on a spectrum, and I've seen many articles that would prove that point. But I will say this. I got to a point where I've started to think out loud, like, first of all, I'm tired. I'm tired of all this. Am I a white supremacist? Am I a racist? Am I all these things that people are saying about me? Or am I just somebody who wants there to be some kind of like morality in our society, or like some kind of order to our society? Am I a person who would rather not have to worry about the world my kids are growing up in? Am I the type of person who thinks when you own a property or you have worked your whole life to build a store or whatever you have there, and somebody comes along and destroys it, who cares what color that person is? That's a dick move, right? And I think that's unacceptable. It's unfortunate that these particular activities are being linked to certain groups such as Black Lives Matter or their affiliates like Antifa and other associated groups. So if that makes me a white supremacist, I'm at a point where I'm like, I don't know, man. If that's what you want to label me, I guess, man. Because that's what you're getting called anyways. No matter what you do, if you have white skin, you're a white supremacist. Because you disagree with this sort of activity. Either let them have their reparations, let them rape and pillage, or you're a white supremacist. And if that's what being a white supremacist is, then I mean, I guess we kind of all are, and it's a hard pill to swallow when even especially like you have a lot of situations where they'll talk about an individual who happened to be black who was talking badly about a particular organization or a particular event that happened in which, I don't know, say the Black Lives Matter folks were throwing cinder blocks at cop cars or whatever. And a black police chief comes out and he says, this is unacceptable. This behavior is totally inappropriate, whatever. And then somebody will say on the news, like they won't see the video of the police chief talking or whatever. They'll say, well, he's clearly a white supremacist, doesn't know what he's talking, or doesn't know the plight of these people, whatever. And then somebody's like, well, he's black. And they're like, still doesn't matter, he's a white supremacist. And that's their new talking point is, if you are against Black Lives Matter, which is the same thing that they said about Antifa, if you are against fascism, guess what? You're Antifa. Well, no, because now I see what Antifa is about, and I'm certainly not about that. If that makes me pro-fascist, that makes me pro-fascist. Now people are saying the same thing about Black Lives Matter. Well, if you're against Black Lives Matter, then you're a racist. Well, no, it's not that I don't think Black Lives Matter. It's that I think that your tactics are perhaps wrong or a little exaggerated or extreme. And I think that the message that you're trying to convey is being poorly received because of the way that you're pushing it, right? And then they say, well, that makes you a white supremacist because you clearly think that black lives don't matter if you're not willing to get out there and tip over cop cars. And that's it's the dichotomy of like, being anti rioting and being, hey, everybody has a right to live, right? And I think there's perhaps some injustice, right? you know, and if you're not willing to tip over a car for that, then guess what? You're a racist. You're a white supremacist. So what Jack is talking about here is, you know, is exactly that, I think. And that what I just said was the more like drawn out way, whereas his was more of the defund the police, eat the rich, you know, like that short shotgun blast that you need to hear. And hopefully I've added some discussion points to that perhaps you can take away from. Jack, would you say that's correct?
Yeah, that's pretty much correct. And I would also like to add, like, what white people are experiencing now with, like, oh, you don't bend the knee to Black Lives Matter, well, then you're a racist. Well, this is only the beginning. Soon, if not already, your mere existence is racist, and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah. So, I forget what I was going to say regarding that, but it is. I mean, we're reaching that point in the Civil War, right? And I've talked about this before. Is the Civil War? It's currently going on. And a lot of people say, "When's the Civil War starting?" Well, it's already started. What you're witnessing now is the Battle of Portland and the Battle of Kenosha. Now, like you're seeing, the Battle of Kenosha is the current one that we're, and the Portland one or whatever has been raging for 80 days now. But this Kenosha thing, this is a new battle that has started, and you see it. There have actually been casualties involved in it too, and we're going to look back on this one day when, you know, our grandkids are studying the American Civil War too, and they're going to say, the Battle of Kenosha, yeah, and that's going to be a question on a test that they have to answer. What happened at the Battle of Kenosha? Well, General Kyle Rittenmore, or whatever his name is, the 17-year-old general or whatever, you know, they're going to talk about that, and it's going to be an answer on it. It's going to be a question on a test that people have to, that our grandkids are going to have to answer. And yeah, man, I mean, it's some crazy stuff going on right now, and I hate to be the guy who's like inciting the race war, but like it's already started, and you're behind the power curve if you've not already recognized that as a white person you're a target. And you can either raise your fist, you can either raise your fist in the cafe like those dudes did in that video. And when those dudes came up, there were like two white couples or whatever sitting in a cafe or like on a patio at a cafe, and they were telling him he had to raise his fist in solidarity with Black Lives Matter. Or when they told the police chief, hey, you've got to kneel down for Black Lives Matter, kneel before us, you know, come son of Zor-El, kneel before Zod, you know, and you know, like that sort of stuff. That's what they're doing now. And if you're not willing to do that, and that comes with that sense of pride. Like if these guys aren't willing to, you know, comply with police orders, and that's what gets them killed, I think it's our duty as human beings to not cower to and not comply with their put your fist in the air in solidarity with Black Lives Matter, kneel before us in solidarity with Black Lives Matter, shine our shoes in solidarity with Black Lives Matter, you know, that sort of shit. Like you're behind the power curve there. Jack, go ahead, you were saying something.
Yeah, so I was gonna say that if you haven't realized already, like everything that's been going on the past few months in the Summer of Hate, it's just a massive polarization process. It's pretty much pick your side. It's going to be extreme one side or the other. You cannot choose the centrist big brain middle ground. Secondly, for anyone who, you know, going back to the whole Boogaloo thing, all those people think, oh, that's just an anti-government meme. Well, it originally started out as race war. That's literally what the Boogaloo was originally. So they just kind of co-opted that.
It's like Helter Skelter. Do you think Charlie Manson had it right?
Lately, yeah, I'm gonna go with yeah.
V, do you think Charlie Manson had it right with Helter Skelter?
I didn't read it.
Oh,
I didn't read Helter Skelter, so I don't know.
Well, don't worry about it then. It was it was just his general.
He was in a movie. No, you know, he was in what was that show, The Mind Raper? Remember?
That was my favorite show. He was actually good. The guy that played him was a really good Charlie Manson. But,
yeah, he did. I agree.
V, what do you have? What are your thoughts on this as we're wrapping up? This is our wrap up moments. So
well, you know what? It's you know, I'm Mexican, and I
what?
I know, and it's funny. People identify as different things, and like I'm Mexican in name only. Like I don't speak Spanish. I do like Mexican food. I can't really eat it anymore because, you know, I'm getting old, and You know, you get old, you can't have as much cheese. That's all there is to it. There's a lot of cheese in Mexican food. But I mean, the thing is like I'm often I don't want to say I identify as a white person because I can't really say that. But I when I'm asked what I identify as, in fact, somebody recently said, "Well, what do you put yourself at?" and blah blah blah. I go, "Well, first and foremost, I'm a veteran." That's the first thing that I go. That's always going to be at the top of everything. If somebody asks me, "What are you?" I go, "A veteran." And then second, I go, "I'm American." It does my color of skin. What the fuck does that matter? I'm born in America. You don't go over to France and go, "What are you? Are you Mexican? Are you blah blah blah?" They go, "Well, I'm French. I'm from France." You know what I mean? And so that's my logic. I go, "I'm American." What the fuck does it matter? Any of this other crap. I was never born in Mexico, so technically I'm not Mexican. But people have to put these dumb fucking monikers after their whatever American because they can't accept that they're fucking American. So they go, "I'm African American, I'm Mexican American, I'm whatever American." No, you're just fucking American. That's all there is to it. You're born in America, you're fucking American. And so it irritates me that there's all these fucking things with like whites and blacks and whatever. So the reason why this race crap exists is because people keep bringing it up, which is funny because I remember watching that thing that Morgan Freeman, remember when he says the bus runs up.
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yeah, stop being a bitch. And that's like the whole problem with it is you've got all these people out there that it's the victimization thing, you know, like I'm a victim. And we talked about this before. People like to play the victim. And so they want the attention on them. And like Larry Elder, man, like I urge you people out there, our dedicated fans and our wonderful audience, I urge you to start listening to the Epoch Times, start reading the Epoch Times. To listen to Larry Elder, man, watch some of the stuff that he has. That dude, he gives you all the information and then lets you figure. Of course, he does it a little snidely because it's funny to him that like people are that dumb. But he'll tell you exactly like, look, man, here are all the facts and here's why this is going on. And the biggest thing that I really agree with him about is like this whole race thing. Like people play this race thing too much and they go, oh, blah 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 blah. And his quote right now that I really enjoy is that the thing right now is this Black Lives Matter is people that were not slaves asking people that were never slave owners for reparations. And that's kind of like the logic behind it. We have this chaos and madness out there in the world. Well, not in the world, but in America, because there's all these people that are going, oh, I deserve this and I deserve that because some fucking black dude, some criminal died and was, because he was resisting arrest and was arrested by a cop, and they go, oh, all the videos sent out and the news leaks it because they fearmonger, because that's what they do. They have to get ratings, so they send out some fucking thing that goes, oh, COVID is so bad right now, you got to wear masks and you got to fucking do this and it's terrible, there's this pandemic, and then they take these shots of some kid in a cage somewhere going, oh, the immigration is blah 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 blah, when really it's just some kid that they put in a cage. They did that. So they doctor the news and then they make you think all this stuff is going. And then you got these fucking asshole retards that are strolling through their phone constantly going, oh my gosh, this is happening and this is happening and this is happening. And then they freak out and panic because they're pussies, because they're total pussies, and they freak out and they go, I'm afraid of this and I'm afraid of that. And they go, oh, we got to do something. We got to protest. We got to blah, 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 blah. Instead of going, you know what, let me use critical thinking to figure out what the truth is. And nobody does that because they're too busy sucking the dick of technology and letting phones control them. And that's what it comes down to. You can take a broad stroke and go, oh, it's Black Lives Matter, it's COVID, it's illegal immigration, it's all this political stuff. But what it comes down to is exactly what Aldous Huxley said in Brave New World, dude, is everybody is sucking the dick of technology and they're being mind controlled by it. They're going through their phones, constantly being fed the same thing, just like Hitler did to create the Gestapo and take over Germany, is he had the radio to tell everybody, this is what you need to believe and this is what you need to do. And they're all sucking that dick because they're going, oh my God, they're right. This is what I think and this is what I believe. And it's much more worse in America right now because we have these gay icons and celebrities going, oh, I'm famous and I'm popular and you like me. And then you've got these, people that read the internet and they go, oh, that's my favorite icon and my favorite celebrity. And I wish my life was like theirs. And so they follow follow their tweets and they go, oh, ha, 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 they said, what they said is this, and then they start getting their political information from this fucking retard that doesn't know shit about politics, and they go, oh, he must know best because he's a famous person and he's in all these movies, but really they're just fucking morons. They're nobody. They're fucking clown shoes is what they are. And these retards out there in the world are listening to them. And the worst part about it is that the guys that think critically like us, we get to see it all from the sidelines and shake our heads and go, what the heck? How are these people in control of things? Which brings me to an interesting point, and I wanted to discuss this earlier, and I guess, like, even though we're going a little over time, I do kind of want to bring this up. I read something really interesting today. If you recall, I shared it with you about Disney. Do you remember what I shared with you today about Disney? Tom, are you there?
Vaguely.
Okay, Tom, Disney is like totally stopping.
No. Get woke, go broke. Yeah, I remember now.
Yeah, get woke, go broke. They're entirely stopping the woke crap with their Star Wars and Marvel franchises. First of all, because the Star Wars movies didn't do very good, and second of all, because Brie Larson and Captain Marvel didn't do very good either. And so their whole logic right now is, holy crap, we were fucking stupid. And it was so funny the way the article was written, because they said Mickey Mouse woke up from his hangover and realize that it's not profitable to be woke. And so now literally everything in Disney is like, we're getting rid of you if you can't appreciate your fans, no matter who they are and what political beliefs they are, because profit comes first. And that's what the bottom line is. And it's so funny when, like, and this is my point in all of it, is like, it's so funny when you look at Democrats and liberals or Republicans or conservative or whatever it is, but what it really comes down to is communism and capitalism. And so you've got these communists in Hollywood, right, which is where they all fucking are at. Like, what is his name, McCarthy? He was like trying to weed them all out.
Yep.
Right from
McCarthy
the beginning.
did nothing wrong.
Yeah, and
in fact, he didn't go far enough.
And they go, oh, he took it too far, and now it's like rampant in Hollywood with these communists, and they're over there trying to spread the disease. And now these idiots in Hollywood and even Disney, they're realizing, holy crap, that's not profitable as hell, because we're listening to this 1% that are telling us that we have to do this and we have to do that, and we got to like make our movies shitty. We got to make what was that, Guns Akimbo, because we got to cater to this stupid audience, right? And realizing they're not making money. So in the end, capitalism fucking wins. They go, look, dude, you're in America. And again, like, my argument is always, if you own a smartphone, you're a capitalist. I hate to break it to you, but you're a capitalist, dude. You own a smartphone. And there are people in other countries dying. So what is Louis C.K.? There are people in other countries throwing themselves off of buildings so that you can send an angry tweet while you're taking a shit. Like, that's all there is to it, man. That's all there is to it. And that's always going to be my argument about all this crap is, and I shake my head and I get all like, ugh, and I know today I'm especially amped because of the stuff that I had to go through today. And then, like, all this crap to me, like, everything that's going on right now, it angers me. Like, I go into a store and I have to wear a mask, and then some lady tries to assert dominance over me by going, you need to wear a mask. And I'm going, bitch, you don't know nothing. I don't need to do anything. You don't need, first of all, you don't need to tell me anything. And second of all, like, what did you say? Like, interacting with me, you just put yourself at risk.
Yeah.
Like, how fucking dumb are you? Like, if you were smart and you really believed that this was a thing, you wouldn't have approached me at all, because you'd think, well, he could have it and I could put myself at risk. So that's my rant. That's my rant for the end. Again, I before we go and before we close out, I want to tell the entire audience that I do appreciate you guys showing up. You know I love you guys, especially Jay Coop and Mike in Manitoba. You guys are the best. Buzz Busby, I don't think I forgot about you.
Buzz.
Yeah, good old Buzz Busby. But yeah, that's what I got. I can't think of anything else.
Is that did you want to tell us how you really felt or anything about all this, or?
I thought I just did.
I'm sorry, you lost me, like, that part about when you started, I think. No, I nailed it. And you had a lot of positive feedback in the chat. A lot of people were saying V's on fire. V's saying all the shit that's bouncing around in my head. Perfectly articulated, actually, was the term that was used. He perfectly articulated all the things that I'm thinking in my head. V, what color am I thinking? And and that was Jay Coop, of course, who said that.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, people were very very receptive to your rant right now, V. So I'm glad you got it. I'm glad you were able to Lay it down.
Yeah,
Lay
that's
down
what
the facts there, V.
what I do. And hopefully one day my dick will trend.
Well, if you guys forgot already, hashtag #LetVP is we're still trying to get that trending. Jack, did you want to say something before we close out? I don't know if you want to sell T-shirts and shit, or if you want to talk about your show, or talk about stuff that you've got going on.
Shill your stuff.
T-shirt nationalism, yeah. Shill your T-shirts.
So not on T-shirt nationalism quite yet, mainly because I'm not that creative. But go visit the paranormies.com or the rightstuff.biz, and you can find the Paranormies on there. Another thing, if you're sick of the, DNC or RNC, whatever, you want to find that third position party, go visit the nationaljusticeparty.com.
I've heard about that. Tell me about it. Tell us about the National Party, or National Justice Party.
So the National Justice Party, so right now, not running candidates quite yet. I think it's like 2 weeks since it formed officially.
Right. Now's the time. Now's the time to get that information out. Because I'm always talking about this, Jack. I talked about this a couple weeks ago. Let me switch it to my face. Talked about this a couple weeks ago, or maybe last week, actually, with the libertarian stuff. Now is the time to start talking about third party. It's already too late for this election. Whatever happens at this election happens at this election. It's not going to involve your third party, no matter who you are, libertarian, Green Party, Constitutional Party, none of that shit. Doesn't matter. Now is the time to start talking about 2024. And if you want your party to be taken seriously, fuck 2024, fuck 2020, focus on 2024. Let's start talking about these third parties if you want people to take them seriously and run serious candidates. So, Jack, if you have some information about this National Justice Party, I would love for you to talk about it right now and get this information out to the people who are watching.
So you'll get better information from the actual site itself. Mike Pinovich, or as many of you know, Mike Enoch, does a wonderful, about a half-hour speech, pretty much outlining, pretty much like where the party is going to be heading and whatnot. So there's no set in stone, like what we're going to do, what our timeline is, but this is definitely something that everyone should check out, and I think anyone who's like reasonable would actually take seriously and be like, this is it.
Very cool. Maybe we'll talk about that on the next episode. Jack, did you have anything else that you wanted to add to today's episode as we close out?
Everything is fake and gay. Fuck the RNC. Fuck the DNC. I just want to grill. And follow Jack the Intern 14.
All right. If you want to throw it into the chat, now would be the time to do it. And like you said, at Jack the Intern 14 on Twitter. Hit him up. He's one of the people that we follow on the account, so if you need help finding it, it's on there. But I did want to say something. I want to close out with something that Mike said in the chat. He actually, and this is earlier when we were talking about complying with all the demands of Black Lives Matter, Antifa, all that stuff. He said, I am always willing to stand with somebody who will take a bullet, never with somebody who will take a knee. So for that, I want you to think about that, think on it long and hard, and, obviously this is where we got to shill. Go to our Redbubble. We actually have the new J-Rab shirt up right now. It's not on here for whatever reason.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there we go. We have
the new... pick up the J-Rab shirt.
Yeah. We still haven't had J-Rabs.
Yeah, I'm planning to get some shirts myself pretty soon. I went through Redbubble today when I was doing my walk, and I was blown away at, like, not just our shirts, but, like, people make cool shirts, dude. I was like, man, I told you I wanted to get a shirt that says Beefcake when I get all ripped, and I found that one that said Beefcake Factory instead of Cheesecake Factory. I love that. I like ironic shirts, and I'm totally gonna get one.
I got a 13.50 shirt off Redbubble. It was pretty cool.
Oh, what?
A 13.50. It literally says that
nice.
in crime statistics.
How many people actually catch on when they see it?
Surprisingly, not that many.
Yeah, not surprisingly, because no one knows that statistic.
People on the other side of the aisle.
But all right, but yeah, that's it. Yeah, go buy our stuff. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat.
Yeah. I'll get back on Twitter
crap.
when I'm unbanned. When my
free V,
when
let
my...
VP, hashtag let VP. That's the free V hashtag right now. Get on Twitter and hashtag let VP.
V, just bite the bullet, dude.
Take a knee, V.